Weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. There was a spirited Senate Judiciary Committee hearing with FBI Director Kash Patel yesterday. And amid the back and forth between Kash and, say, Mazie Hirono about such weighty matters as how many pull-ups an FBI agent should be able to do, or the very entertaining back and forth between Kash and one Adam Schiff when Schiff tried to make hay over the handling of Ghislaine Maxwell and her transfer to a minimum security prison. Amid all of that, there was something that was rather important that was revealed. Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, offered the following.
Well, it's well understood that your predecessor left you an FBI infected with politics. I'm going to provide examples of that today, including making public new whistleblower records. At your nomination hearing, I made public records that whistleblowers provided me about Arctic Frost. Arctic Frost was the FBI case opened and approved by antitrust Trump FBI agent Thibault. Arctic Frost then became Jack Smith's elector case against then Citizen Trump and now President Trump. These new records show that Arctic Frost was much broader than just an electoral matter. The case was expanded to Republican organizations. Some examples of the group that Ray FBI sought to place under political investigation included the Republican National Committee, Republican Attorney Generals Association, and various Trump political groups. In total, 92 Republican targets, including Republican groups and Republican-linked individuals, were placed under investigative scope of Arctic Frost. On that political list was one of Charlie Kirk's groups, Turning Point USA. In other words, Arctic Frost wasn't just a case to politically investigate Trump. It was the vehicle by which partisan FBI agents and Department of Justice prosecutors could achieve their partisan ends and improperly investigate the entire Republican political apparatus.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Very much like investigating conservative Catholics who attend the Latin Mass, this was targeting people based on their political beliefs, religious beliefs, combination of the two. 90 some odd groups that were brought in under scrutiny by the FBI, according to the documents that Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson were set to release after the hearing yesterday that they had obtained from whistleblowers. And Grassley also complimented Kash Patel on his handling of whistleblowers, people coming forward, as contrasted from the previous administration. By the way, that previous administration includes FBI Director Christopher Wray. And I would suggest that based on what you just heard from Chuck Grassley, I'd like to hear from Christopher Wray a little bit more about what was going on under his stewardship of the FBI, since stewardship of the FBI was part of the conversation yesterday. Accusations leveled at Kash Patel that he was somehow, undermining the integrity of the FBI in his short tenure as director. That was something that T-Bone Booker from New Jersey accused him of. Craig in Mount Greenwood, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. These three-letter agencies, starting with the FBI, and you could include CIA probably and all these other ones. I mean, you could go back to even like we couldn't get any information if it was accurate, starting with John F. Kennedy assassination and all kinds of other things all through history with these three-letter agencies. And January 6th, where they basically against American people, nonstop against American people. They need to disband this damn thing and everything like that and start afresh with something. Somehow they have to do it. I know it won't be easy, but they've been against the American people for too long. That's why they don't do it. They don't stop any kind of real like serious stuff that I can tell. I mean, that they're constantly on the American people with all their political garbage.
Thanks for the call, Craig. Well, I mean, they do stop some real crime, and Kash Patel detailed some of what they have stopped just during his, 7 months as FBI director. So there's no disputing that, but the problem is the mission creep. And this was the discussion we had, which has been, under the previous administration, which has been suspended because now it's Trump and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. But yes, the size and scope of the FBI in terms of its mission, that's something that needs to be revisited at some point. The problem, of course, is the antagonism. On the one hand, when it's Kash up there, you have Republicans that are, rightfully, generally speaking, pleased with his efforts. And so don't want to really talk about structural reform of the FBI. And then, you have Biden or another new Marxist party president to be installed. You would have probably this back and forth again, since it doesn't seem to me, absent any sort of reckoning, that there will be much in the way of lessons learned about lawfare and the politicization of law enforcement by the left. So, but I mean, these were conversations we were having. I mean, there's pieces written by academics like Angelo Codavia talking about what the future of the CIA and the FBI should look like after the Russian collusion hoax and so many other failures, or worse. And those were only failures. Those were fifth column actions. So the combination of failures and fifth column actions against an incumbent president in particular. And it's, of course, what they did and what they didn't do. I mean, there's a New York Post piece, too, out. New FBI files, again, released by Senator Chuck Grassley, newly declassified FBI files. And this, of course, is in cooperation with Kash Patel. So the transparency piece, that box is being checked, generally speaking. The criticisms of the handling of the Epstein files notwithstanding. These newly declassified docs on the other side, what wasn't done, suggests that maybe allegations into bribery of one big guy and baby boy Hunter, his favorite son, were not fully investigated. The files memorialized two interviews, 2017, 2019, with the FBI sources who shared details about the Biden family being linked to a possible foreign bribery scheme with Zolochevsky, the owner of Burisma. You remember Burisma. Hunter was on the board. Fully qualified, he tells us. The informants allege that Zolochevsky sought to offer then Ukrainian President Poroshenko $100 million in shares and guaranteed profits from gas sales to stop an Interpol investigation into Burisma, in which Joe and Hunter Biden had money invested via a Latvian shell company. Newly unclassified FBI files reveal more bribery allegations involving former first son Hunter and former President Joe Biden. The sources allege that Joe Biden met directly with Poroshenko to protect the interests of his son, and by extension, Zolochevsky, who was paying Hunter around $1 million per year between May of 2014 and April of 2019 to serve on Burisma's board, as I mentioned. The effort to protect Burisma's owner was also supported by members of the U.S. Intel Committee. The CIA officers took Zolochevsky into the office of Yuri Lutsenko, the prosecutor general, The 2019 file further claimed that a 2016 reverse merger between Burisma and Texas-based Cub Energy was part of a lucrative venture involving Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and his business associates, Devin Archer and Chris Hines Kerry, of course, John Kerry's adopted son, who with Zolochevsky among the beneficiaries. Grassley is saying about this, we aren't saying the allegations are true. We want to know what the FBI did to fully investigate the veracity or lack thereof and what they concluded. Let's put this matter to rest one way or the other. Well, of course, we've been trying to get to the bottom of these things for years and put these matters to rest one way or the other. And here we stand in September of 2025, and we seem to be saying the same things we've been saying for many of the past Septembers, haven't we? Nonetheless, these reveals are important because they provide the basis, even if you can't do anything under criminal law, they certainly provide the basis for intra-agency cleanup by Cash and Bongino and the new leadership at the FBI. So I guess that's a start, although I'm left generally unsatisfied by it. Jim in LaGrange.
You know, it's great, Dan, that Chuck Grassley is bringing this forward, but the unfortunate, and the reason why is because it needs to be exposed, number one. But number two, I think the Democrats were banking on the fact that they would lose, that they would win the presidency, Trump would lose, and that no one would ever find out about any of this. But the most disheartening part, Dan, is that even though it's brought to the light, in my heart, I believe nothing's going to happen. This is like Hillary Clinton's 30,000 emails being deleted and everything else that has gone on. Until there's a reckoning, until there are consequences and people pay the price for the behavior that is exhibited, none of this really matters. It's just talk. Thanks, Dan. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've mentioned this many times before. This targeting of people based on their faith or their political beliefs. Well, that's what we went through a decade earlier under Joe Obama terms 1 and 2. It was the IRS. I mean, it could have been the FBI too, for all we know. I'm sure there's instances, perhaps I've forgotten them, but the high profile was the IRS because they got caught. Lois Lerner in particular, you remember, conferring or not conferring C3 status based on a group's political or religious beliefs. No reckoning there. So you move on and they scale it to include the FBI, to include the intel community. And we'll see. I mean, you got to give this administration time and people like Kash Patel and the leadership of the FBI some time as well. It's a big undertaking. And I assume the corruption runs deep, and these cockroaches in these agencies know how to hide and survive. So this is no easy feat, but we're going to see this cycle repeat itself if we don't have some sort of paradigm shift within these agencies and within the federal government, generally speaking. I don't get the sense that anybody on the left is chastened by the last decade of the conduct that has been exposed. Coming up at 5:38, we'll turn our attention to the charges formally filed against Charlie Kirk's assassin. That's 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 66 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Freddie Hammer. Sunny today with a high of 78. A man died after being shot inside a Southside home Monday afternoon. Fox 32 reports the shooting happened about 3:19 p.m. on South Anthony Avenue. The man was taken to University of Chicago Medical Center, where he later died of those injuries. No arrests have been made as of yet. A smash-and-grab burglary turned into a police chase in Oak Park early Monday. ABC 7 says 5 suspects rammed a pawn shop on North Avenue, then fled in a stolen red sedan. The chase ended in Maywood with a crash. 3 suspects were arrested. 2 remain at large. Chicago CTA is installing free Naxalone vending machines at 5 rail stations. The opioid reversal drug will be available anonymously and at no cost, aiming to save lives and reduce overdose deaths across the city. And Chicago honored Pope Leo XIV's 70th birthday with a plaque at Insight Hospital, his birthplace. Staff, faith leaders, and community members gathered to celebrate the legacy of the first American pope. The hospital, once Mercy, continues its mission to serve the vulnerable. News is a service of Blindster.com. Blindster.com sells custom blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices. Their blinds are handcrafted to fit your windows, and if they don't, for any reason, they'll remake them for free. Your satisfaction is always guaranteed at Blindster.com.
Hugh Hewitt warns that China is flexing.
Xi Jinping has capped a week of frenetic diplomacy by presiding over one of China's biggest military parades, projecting his nation's growing power in a show of solidarity with fellow strongman Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un. Everyone's got to pay attention to what China is doing and what China is saying, and it's very ominous.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donnelly Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donnelly Auctions with their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions. They have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonnellyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donnelly does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donnelly has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donnelly Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donnelly Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonnellyAuctions.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hey all, Jim Carr here. I am the owner of Car Machine and Tool in Elk Grove Village and loyal customer of Signature Bank. As a second generation owner, I knew I had to shift from operating as an old school machine shop to what I can proudly say is now one of the fastest growing aerospace manufacturing facilities in the region. Signature Bank was there every step of the way through our expansion efforts, including financing our new state-of-the-art facility. Their valuable industry expertise and constant communication throughout the construction process made our vision possible. Many thanks to Signature Bank for supporting Car Machine and Tool. You set the bar high for other banks.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mostly sunny and very warm with a high of 84. Tonight, expect clear skies with a low of 62. Tomorrow, anticipate sun through high clouds, remaining warm with a high of 86. On Friday, it will be cloudy to partly sunny with a high of 80. Saturday, we'll have intervals of clouds and sunshine with a passing shower or two, remaining warm with a high of 79. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, building on our discussion of Kash Patel's appearance before the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday, he did have this exchange with Missouri Senator Josh Hawley about the investigation into the Charlie Kirk assassination. And the discussion about this Discord chat group that there may have been up to 24 people that had some foreknowledge that this assassination was going to take place. And what is the FBI doing to investigate people who may have acted criminally, in addition to, obviously, the assassin. And the guy who was misidentified initially as the assassin and taken into custody. Well, it turns out he did commit a criminal act. It just wasn't the assassination itself. He told police that when he said, "I shot him, now shoot me," which is what he allegedly said after Charlie Kirk was shot. He told investigators he was trying to draw attention from the real shooter. He was charged with obstruction of justice, which is a second-degree felony. Oh, and then 71-year-old dude. Then he was charged with 4 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor after investigators saw more than 20 images of kids as young as 5 years old, at least partially naked and posing in a sexual way on his phone. There's the left for you. So anyway, getting back to the larger investigation, this is what Kash Patel had to say in committee yesterday.
What we do for an interrogation perspective, we go and reach out to the family and community immediately. And we've conducted those investigations and interrogations with local law enforcement, and we're continuing to do that because those closest to the suspect are going to hopefully know the most about the suspect and his beliefs and his ideology. On top of that, unfortunately, it has been leaked that there was a Discord chat, and for those unfamiliar with it, it's a gaming chat room online that the suspect participated in. So what we're doing, we've already done, is serve legal process, not just on Discord, so that the information we gathered is sustained and held in a evidentiary posture that we could use in prosecution should it be decided to do so. And we're also going to be investigating anyone and everyone involved in that Discord chat.
Okay, very good. I see the public reports that the Discord thread had as many as 20 additional users. It sounds like you're trying to run down all of that to see if that's accurate, who else may have been on that thread, what they may have known. Is that fair to say?
It's a lot more than that, and we're running them all down.
It's a lot more than 20?
Yes, sir.
And you're running all of that to ground?
Every single one.
Yeah, fantastic.
And it may be some organizations, and maybe a representative or member of said organization was on that Discord chat, maybe not. Maybe. This is all maybe. But we do know that a group called Armed Queens is also under investigation for possible foreknowledge of Kirk's assassination. So there's that. But of course, what is clear is what the assassin did, and as anticipated, charges were filed yesterday. Utah County DA Jeff Gray detailing them. 7 counts: aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, 2 counts of obstruction of justice, witness tampering because he told the roommate to delete text messages, 2 counts of witness tampering, and then committing a violent crime when children are present. And then State's Attorney Gray had this to say about the punishment he was seeking.
I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. I do not take this decision lightly, and it is a decision I have made independently as county attorney, based solely on the available evidence and circumstances and nature of the crime. Because we are seeking the death penalty, the defendant will continue to be held without bail in the Utah County Jail.
We also got some additional detail from the DA about the interaction between the assassin and his parents after he had murdered Charlie Kirk. This was, again, the DA characterizing what they came to understand to be true about the conversations between the assassin and his parents, as well as the text messages and the note that was mentioned over the weekend. Utah Governor Spencer Cox didn't want to comment on it, was waiting for law enforcement, didn't want to get ahead of the Utah County DA, the prosecutor in this case, which is understandable. And so he didn't, but we got that detail yesterday in the charging document and in the commentary that the district attorney provided. First, on the immediacy when mom saw the photo of the person of interest that law enforcement was looking for and thought that looked like her son and contacted dad, and it went from there.
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate.
And conversations he had with his dad, he and his dad didn't see eye to eye politically. This has been reported.
Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied that he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home. As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it.
And the motive.
When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil and the guy, referring to Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate.
Mm-hmm. So it forced the legacy media, the D.C. press corps, to drop this cover story they were running right up until yesterday's press conference with Utah County District Attorney Jeff Gray, didn't it? Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. 2 nights ago, this is how John Dickerson over at CBS News, in scare quotes, characterized the assassination of Kirk and the general understanding of what the motive might be.
5 days after Charlie Kirk's murder, the shooter's motive remains elusive. No writings left behind, vague secondhand testimony. That uncertainty and the risk of drawing sweeping conclusions suggests the murder may share similarities with recent violence not driven by an obvious political ideology.
We had certainly in the public domain reports of messages that were scrawled on bullet casings. We had all the circumstantial evidence about his radicalization, including characterizations of his move to the political left. But we were doing the motive is unclear. They were crossing their fingers, hoping somehow they were going to be they could salvage this without having to concede that the person's political ideology, the assassin's political ideology, informed the horrific crime that he committed. So this was John Dickerson last night. 2 nights ago, no idea. It's just, general nihilism. Nothing political. There's no writings. There's no indication. And then yesterday, same newscast.
It's also important to note that the charges were aggravated by the fact, this is now according to Mr. Gray, they were aggravated by the fact that this was a political murder, that the aggravated murder was committed because of Charlie Kirk's political views.
Yeah. Welcome to the general understanding that the rest of the country was, 4 days ahead of you on John Dickerson because they were paying attention and drawing reasonable conclusions about information that was generally available. Gail and Carrie, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. I didn't exactly want to be on the radio. I just wanted to say that people are treating this like I expected to be taken care of in an hour, just like if it was a television program.
Yeah.
And we need to give Cash Patel and the FBI people time and space to do what they do without telling everybody what they are doing. because we don't need to broadcast what they're doing, because then people know what they're looking for and they could hide it.
Thanks for the call, Gail. No, I agree. But you give government agencies and the leadership of those agencies the time and space to do their jobs, of course. Their charge is to bring the public along as they are doing their jobs. Their charge is to provide information that keeps the public informed, not perhaps in details that would compromise the execution of their duties, but you have to provide, you have to sort of be available. You have to provide reasonable answers to reasonable questions. And I think Kash Patel did that yesterday. I mean, the exchanges with some of his political opponents, that was the theater that you get in congressional committee hearings these days. And I don't fault Kash Patel for going right back at Schiff or Cory Booker, by the way. In fact, I rather enjoyed it. But you have to bring people along. You don't just issue edicts. And this was the criticism coming from people like me with respect to the handling of the Epstein files, just to go off on a tangent briefly. But you're right, generally speaking. Roger, Southside.
Dan, do you get the same feeling that I do, that we're probably, a day or two from this entire thing being another OJ case or any of the other cases that have been bungled? I mean, come on, this stuff has been, I don't know where you stand. It's too big of a topic right now. I don't even believe that this kid killed him. You know what I mean? It's way ahead of itself. And
no, I don't know what you mean. I mean, you think, but the evidence that has been presented is all manufactured?
I don't think it's manufactured. I think it's weak, and I think it's unrealistic for a 22-year-old who made that shot. For all of it, yes. The surveillance that had to be done for all that, yes. It's very weak. If it was a screenplay, they would throw it out.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Normally, I would say, that the problem is when you don't provide information, that's when conspiracy theories start. But actually, my view is in this case, there's been a lot of information provided, including yesterday by that Utah County DA, including in the charging document, if you've read it. And it tracks for me, but I'm somebody who likes to go where the evidence leads. Yeah. And that, I guess, excuses me from the company of some, even otherwise on the right. But that's what I like to do. First of all, a 22-year-old can't take that shot. A 15-year-old who's had any experience with a bolt-action rifle and had a nice handy scope on it, which it did, can take and make that shot. So I don't know what people do know or don't know about guns and proficiency, but this is a guy who grew up around guns and hunting. So the whole, I don't believe any of this. I mean, okay, you can believe whatever you want. This is America. But I don't find that persuasive. And I don't see this going the way of an OJ case. I don't even know what exactly that means. OJ was guilty, and so is this assassin. You mean OJ isn't the real killer? We going to do that now? Uh-huh. The text messages. Getting back to the evidence, if we might, for a moment. The text messages between the roommate, his romantic partner, and the assassin. Actual evidence.
The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and he did provide those messages to police. On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Police found a photograph of this note. The following text exchange, then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, I am. I'm sorry." Roommate, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering." Roommate, "Why?" Robinson, "Why did I do it?" Roommate, "Yeah." Robinson, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out."
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Now, just getting back to the media coverage of this for a moment. So the idea that this was just nihilism and had nothing to do with political ideology, that was debunked by the evidence. So incredibly, a new narrative has spawned that seeks to mitigate the horror of this assassination. I didn't see this one coming, I got to tell you, reading those text messages, which I find particularly chilling. Obviously, I find the whole thing chilling, as does any rational person. But this, ABC News' Matt Gutman, his reporting on that press conference from the Utah County DA and the text messages that he disclosed.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate who is transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children, which is one of the aggravating circumstances of this case. And on the other hand, he was, speaking so lovingly about his partner. So a very interesting and, as Pierre said, riveting press conference.
Yeah, it's a regular Romeo and Juliet, Matt Gutman. Mark in Belgium, Wisconsin.
Good morning, Dan. Thank you for taking my call. I listened to a lot of this stuff, too, and the one thing that I haven't heard yet, and I don't know if you have heard anything, and when is this going to be issue addressed? Is there drugs involved in this thing, kind of psych meds or whatever this kid has been on? Because so many times this has been the case. And
thanks for the call, Mark. We're up against the clock, but I'm glad you raised the question. I don't know the answer to that, but it's a great question that we need to get an answer to. We'll talk more about this with Jonathan Alpert at 6:06. It is now 6 a.m.
He'll appear in court again in 12 days. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Could you state your name? Tyler James Robinson.
And that's all the suspected Charlie Kirk assassin said in his video appearance, where charges were detailed, including aggravated murder, which could lead to the death penalty. At a news conference, Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray detailed evidence.
The roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it.
In another exchange, when the roommate asked why he did it, Robinson replied he had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out.
Yesterday on Capitol Hill, FBI Director Kash Patel said investigators are tracking down each and every person who the accused killer had been in touch with leading up to and after the shooting, including those that he spoke to online.
We are very much in our ongoing posture of investigation.
So others could have been involved?
Yes, sir.
At this point, no one else has been charged in this case. But
that's Fox's Garrett Tenney at the Utah County Jail. We heard Director Patel with Senator John Kennedy. He also clashed at the FBI oversight hearing with Democrats, especially Senator Adam Schiff.
Continue to lie from your perch and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charade. You are a political buffoon at best.
Patel could clash with more lawmakers at a House hearing this morning. President Trump's in Britain and will get royal treatment this hour, meeting with King Charles at Windsor Castle. The president's the first world leader to get a second UK state visit. Tomorrow he meets with the Prime Minister.
The UK wants to improve the trade deal the two countries announced back in May, especially the steel and aluminum tariffs, which are currently sitting at 25%. The rest of the world is facing a 50% duty on those products, but industry leaders hope to slash the UK rate to zero.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich in Windsor. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It's 67 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Freddie Hammer. Sunny today with a high of 78. 2 children and a woman were found dead in Lake Michigan over the weekend near Southside Beaches. According to WLS, the Cook County Medical Examiner identified the victims as 1-year-old Jareem J.C. Washington and 6-year-old Wyatt Bryden Patton, both from Madison. Washington was discovered late Saturday morning near 57th Street Beach, while Patton and a 31-year-old woman were recovered near 63rd Street Beach later in the afternoon. Police believe the deaths are connected and may have stemmed from a domestic dispute. The woman's identity has not yet been released, and causes of death are still pending. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement made arrests in Chicago's Little Village on Monday, one day after the Mexican Independence Day parade. According to WLS, witnesses say a Venezuelan man was detained at 24th and Albany while in a car with his wife and children. Community members report that agents did not leave information for the family. Hours later, another man was taken into custody nearby. Local groups are assisting families and urging residents to know their rights. ICE has not yet made any statements. A strike was narrowly avoided in Romeoville, where Valley View teachers reached a tentative deal with District 365U after months of negotiations. According to CBS Chicago, the agreement, confirmed on Friday, comes amid disputes over pay and school start times. Details remain under wraps pending ratification. Meanwhile, teachers in District 146, serving Tinley Park, Oak Forest, and Orland Park, could walk out next Monday as talks over pay and retirement benefits remain stalled. And Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed an executive order last week to safeguard vaccine access amid federal policy changes. According to CBS Chicago, the statewide vaccine access initiative, led by the Illinois Department of Public Health, aims to ensure residents can receive vaccines for COVID-19, flu, RSV, and more. Traffic is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder thinks the media is being ridiculous.
There was a hashtag called Trump is dead, and it was trending. The same people who covered up for Biden for years are concerned that the president, who held 3 consecutive press conferences recently in one day, takes a little bit of time off, and he's not being transparent about his health.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Summer's over. It's time to go birds. Raise a stein and join in song as we celebrate fall for all. Kids from 2 to 92 can romp and play and explore all day. Ride a helicopter, ride a pig, ride a train, ride a plane, and see a pumpkin-eating dinosaur. And Oktoberfest weekend means cold beer at the Pumpkin Pub and the beer bin for the grown-ups. And for the little ones, there's so much to explore. Meet the animals, from our famous Gobert's giraffe to classic farm friends. From the carousel and the pumpkin slide to the giant jumping pillow and the haunted mansion. Chow down on yummy burgers, pizza, sausage, tacos, and more. Gobert's Farm is fun all fall. Don't miss Oktoberfest, September 19th through 21st, with adults only after 8 p.m. on Saturday. Tickets and details at goberts.com. Fall is here. It's time to Gobert's. Gobert's Farm, Pingree Grove, just off I-90. GOEBBERTS.com.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words micro. That's pound 250, micro.
Hey, Chicagoland, your trusted friend Jeff here from JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Over the past few months, I've shared how our veteran-led team serves Chicagoland homeowners. Today, I want to share with you what your neighbors are saying about working with us. Like Mary in Downers Grove, who wrote, "They listened to my concerns about moving from my home of 30 years and created a timeline that worked for me." Or Tom and Carol Stream, who said, "Their team helped me sort through 40 years of memories with respect and patience. This is why hundreds of your neighbors have given us a 5-star Google review and an A+ rating with the BBB. We don't just buy houses. We help people through life's transitions with understanding and care. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and always on your timeline. Ready to work with the home buying team your neighbors trust? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or jeffbuysyourhouse.com.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Taking a look at your drive in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center with traffic, a service of Fox Valley Coins. No delays on the inbound Edens Lake Cook to Montrose on a 14-minute ride. 13 minutes outbound Edens Montrose to Lake Cook. Less than 10 minutes on the Kennedy inbound Montrose to the Byrne Interchange. On the outbound Kennedy, same story. Less than 10 minutes between the Byrne Interchange and Montrose. Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 12 minutes. And a 14-minute travel time on the outbound Eisenhower from the Old Post Office to Wolf. On the Stevenson inbound 355 to Lakeshore Drive, you're looking at 23 minutes. You're heavy as you approach the Dan Ryan inbound ramp, and the Stevenson outbound Lakeshore Drive to 355, 22 minutes. 13 minutes on the inbound Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange with traffic, a service of Fox Valley Coins. Bring your gold or silver in today. Each item is priced right in front of you. The coins never leave your sight. Receive a cash or check right on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. I'm KT. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now here's the latest forecast from QC Kinetics.
Today will be mostly sunny and very warm with a high of 84. Tonight, expect clear skies with a low of 62. Tomorrow, anticipate sun through high clouds, remaining warm with a high of 86. On Friday, the weather will be cloudy to partly sunny with a high of 80. Saturday will bring intervals of clouds and sunshine, a passing shower or two, and warm temperatures with a high of 79. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just want to pick up where we left off at the end of last hour. The incredible spin that was offered after the press conference yesterday announcing the charges against the Charlie Kirk assassin and the associated evidence to support those charges. Just let's hear it again. Matt Gutman from ABC News is deeply touched, deeply moved by the relationship between the assassin and his roommate / romantic partner. This was his take on it. This is really, in part, a love story, and we don't want to forget that.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate who is transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children, which is one of the aggravating circumstances of this case. And on the other hand, he was, speaking so lovingly about his partner. So a very interesting and, as Pierre said, riveting press conference.
Yeah, it was like I was reading a Nicholas Sparks novel, except for the part where a young man is assassinated for his political beliefs, except for that part. Montel Williams, amateur psychiatrist, apparently, picked up on that. This is something that is actually being distributed. Montel Williams on one of those ghastly CNN panels.
There are people who are trying to pigeonhole this as a leftist thing and a right thing. And what we're really talking about, hear me because I'm going to throw you when I say this. We're talking about a love-torn child, a kid. This is probably his first real relationship, and somebody was disparaging the person that he loved. He sat on that building for 30 minutes before he took the shot. Why did he wait until the first word trans came up? Then he took the shot.
You think he heard it? He could hear it?
I think he could hear it. I think he also, I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally. I think this was a emotionally stunted person who literally, when I say it this way, just hear me, tried to defend his significant other, not trying to defend some ideology.
I think there is an emotionally stunted person here, and his name is Montel Williams. First of all, according to the evidence, he planned this for about a week. So the idea that this was some a love-lorn child, by the way, he's 22 years old. That's a child now? Oh, right. Until you're off mom and dad's insurance in the Obama era, you're a child. 22-year-old child planned this, knew it was wrong. Thus, he tried to make his escape. Thus, the exchanges between him and his roommate where he talks about regretting leaving the weapon behind and trying to double back to get it. But there was a police car or some other security car, campus security wasn't specific, that was impeding him from going back to get the weapon. He worried about his fingerprints being on it and so on and so forth. Not to mention, in terms of this not being political, well, that was dispelled at the press conference. And it's been dispelled just by the information that's been circulating in the public domain about the family dynamics. Mom and dad saying he had moved increasingly left, increasingly pro-gay, trans. They had arguments. In the text messages that were recounted at the press conference, talking specifically about Charlie Kirk and his beliefs and characterizing them as hate and so on and so forth. And there's a certain amount of hate, paraphrasing, that with which you can't negotiate. But it wasn't political. It's just a story of a boy in his first romantic relationship, and he's defending the honor of his romantic partner. Are you serious? For more on the topic, Pleased to be joined by Jonathan Alpert, psychotherapist practicing in New York and Washington, author of Therapy Nation, which is a forthcoming book out next year. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan, thank you for having me.
An important part of this is the love story between the assassin and his roommate.
Well, isn't it predictable that the left has more sympathy for the killer than the victim in this? It's it's right out of their playbook. I also listened to some of what you played yesterday, and the left will come up with every excuse there is in the book to excuse this killer's behavior, and you have to wonder, like, how did we get to the point where a killer, an assassin, is being celebrated? I was at a grocery store here in Manhattan hours after the assassination, and I overheard two cashiers celebrating the murder. And I was shocked but not surprised, and they were doing it with such calm, and it was chilling. So the manner in which they celebrated it was chilling, and we really should be concerned about this, because this is what used to be isolated or limited to the dark corners of the internet, and now it's at the local grocery store. So we really should be concerned about this.
Well, right. The only concern that you have so many on the left expressing is what Trump's reaction to this is going to be. Not concerned for what it means for a person to be assassinated for their political beliefs. Not any concern for Charlie Kirk and his young family. Just concerned what the political reaction will be from their main boogeyman. That's how some people have been hardwired. And there's something else, though, too, and you wrote about this in the Journal. This sort of romanticizing of this, contextualizing, but particularly the romance is the sort of the fantasy piece of this. And we have evidence of the fantasy piece of this in the mind of the assassin because of the engravings and the bullet casings that speak to meme culture and anime furry culture and gaming culture. And you use a term that psychologists use called splitting, and that may be at play here. And I just wanted you to develop that perspective.
Yeah, and when you spend your time, your thoughts, your energy demonizing half the country, or at least people who voted differently than you, and you label them as Nazis or Hitler or evil, it makes sense why you would then feel it was your duty, or you could at least be motivated to kill someone. And in the DA's report yesterday, I believe he even said that Robinson cited that this person, Kirk, was evil and he had to take him out. I'm paraphrasing, but that was essentially what he said. So that gives us a pretty clear picture into the mind of Robinson and his rationalization for murdering Kirk. And I see it play out all the time, even if it's on a smaller scale. I've heard of people who shoplift and justify it. Well, corporate America is greedy, so it's okay if I steal this pack of gum. So that's small, but it is creating these little monsters that we're seeing in our society, and we need to be concerned about that, and we need to stop validating and coddling people.
Well, another illustration of this, I think, in part, but I want to get your reaction, was yesterday, concurrently, you had 2 terrorism-related charges dropped in the case against the man who killed the United Healthcare CEO. And this was the reaction to people sporting Free Luigi signs and other such grotesque messages outside of the courthouse when it was revealed in Manhattan, when it was revealed that he's not going anywhere. The alleged murder is not going anywhere. He's still facing capital charges, but just 2 terrorism-related charges, a judge said the prosecutors couldn't make out, and this was the reaction.
That's just right. Yep. Guys, this is on everybody, right? Because we didn't let that slide. So you know we didn't let that slide. That's right. That's right. Free!
Luigi! Can you help us crawl into those minds, Jonathan?
Dan, it's absolutely sickening. This is the enthusiasm I would expect if the Cubs won the World Series, not if a killer had some charges dropped. Again, these people see corporate America as evil. They see Luigi as the folk hero. They see Luigi as the person who fought against corporate America, and their guy at this point is winning. So it's not surprising. Being in New York, I heard it. I see the protest. I see the completely idiotic rallies in New York that support this killer. And again, it's part of validation culture. It's part of grievance culture. Poor me. We're victims of big corporate America, and Luigi has become the symbol of that. He's become their hero.
So this is whether it's the Kirk assassination or the hit on that United healthcare CEO. Mm-hmm. Is it the same sort of splitting that you think is occurring, where they say basically everything would be better if this person was gone, and we just need somebody to step up and do it, and that person, will have struck a blow for a better tomorrow? Is that the thinking?
Yeah, that's the thread, and that's what I see, and I see it in my practice. I see it in patients, and I see it in the culture of therapy with other therapists, where well, of course, it's not your fault. It's everyone else's fault. If someone comes to see me and they're having a conflict with their, say, colleague, I won't just assume that the colleague is the bad one. I'll dig into it and find out what's going on. But too many therapists these days will just elevate their patient. Well, you're perfect. It must be your colleague's fault. And if you have that mindset and you go out into the world, no wonder you have grievances and you feel that you can go out there and settle the score. So my profession, sadly, is partially responsible for creating this mindset in people. So we've got to examine that as well.
And I got to say, I mean, there's some apparently very popular voices online that I was not really familiar with on the left generally. That I mean, they say things I'm actually quite stunned to hear said with such enthusiasm and repeatedly and in an unvarnished fashion. Yesterday on the show, we talked about this guy Hassan Piker, who has advocated for violence. There was another guy, this gamer / YouTuber who goes by the nom de plume Destiny. This is what he had to say on Piers Morgan's program about Charlie Kirk's assassination.
He was radicalized to a leftist ideology that drove him to murder Charlie Kirk. Now, let me just ask you.
That's just not true.
Let me just
There's
ask
no
you.
way to deal with it.
Okay,
You're living in a
accusing the governor
fantasy.
of lying.
Yeah.
That's your prerogative. But sure. If it turns out to have been somebody with a leftist ideology who wanted to shut up Charlie Kirk, would you condemn that?
I won't condemn anything until the president of the United States can go on air and say, all of us need to calm down.
So you won't condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk until Donald Trump says something.
I'm a YouTuber. Leftists and Democrats have been condemning and turning down the temperature, condemning violence, turning down the temperature for a decade. Donald Trump can't go on TV and say, all of us need to calm down.
Right.
Can you tell me why he cannot?
Why would you expect anybody, Destiny?
You can't answer that. Can you answer that question? Why can't Trump go on TV and say, all of us should be less violent?
Why do you think
Trump say that?
Well, first of all, before you even get to the analysis there, Jonathan, this is something else in a separate and distinct show that the same person, Destiny, said about conservatives.
Not exactly like.
You need conservatives to be afraid of getting killed when they go to events so that they look to their leadership to turn down the temperature. The issue is right now, they don't feel like there's any fear. I don't know. It's like memes. It's just memes to everybody, I guess. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I don't care. I'm playing video games. Okay, I'm done today. I don't give a
Jonathan?
Well, isn't it interesting that the party that preaches tolerance and acceptance and peace and love and open communication, seems to be pretty opposed to it now, to the point where Robinson silenced Kirk, anti-free speech, with the very thing that they seem to be against: weapons, guns. So,
if you don't comport your rhetoric in such a way to reduce violence, then I'll kill you. That's an interesting proposition.
Well, it's justifiable in the warped mind of the crazy far left.
But I mean, but like the gaming culture, the and some of these other anime, some of these other subcultures. I'm not casting a wide net here. I'm just saying where I guess people like this Destiny dude, from whence they spring. I mean, do you see this in terms of a particularly impactful? They have a lot of followers, people like this guy, or a lot of viewers and listeners.
They do, and the moment that someone puts weight or relies on the gospel of a YouTuber, which I think is probably just part of the incel culture that got some fame and notoriety, we have a problem. Social media amplifies these messages, and you have people who probably don't have a right or the knowledge to put messaging out there, and they're doing it, and people buy into it. And I mean, I see it in my profession as well. You have so-called mental health experts putting out advice, and they have absolutely no clue as to what ADHD or depression is, but they're putting out advice or their own story, and it's misleading people. So yes, I mean, we have YouTubers that are famous. They have a million viewers or followers, and people follow them and trust them. So people probably should think twice about who they're taking their advice from.
Jonathan Alpert is a psychotherapist practicing in New York and Washington, author of the forthcoming book, Therapy Nation, due out next year. Jonathan Alpert, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Take care.
Take care. And he joined us in the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
FestGen Wealth Partners knows you're feeling the pinch of rising cost of living, and you are not alone. Potentially maximize your savings and get the guidance you need through times of uncertainty with a team at FestGen Wealth Partners. Get started at GetRetiredStayRetired.com.
Advisory services offered through FestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and FestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. FestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
Aid for Women is hosting their annual dinner on Thursday, September 25th, and you're invited. We're gathering at the beautiful Union League Club downtown. That's 65 West Jackson Boulevard for what's always a really special night. This year's speaker is Dr. Robert Royal, who founded the Faith and Reason Institute in Washington. He has some fascinating insights on faith, culture, and the issues we're all talking about. Here's how the evening unfolds. At 5 o'clock, you can meet Dr. Robert Lawler, our medical director, an amazing person with some amazing stories. Then we'll have drinks and good conversation at 5:30, followed by dinner and the program at 6:30. It's really about supporting women in our community. Getting tickets is easy. Just go to helpaidforwomen.org. That's helpaidforwomen.org. You can grab dinner tickets, try your luck with drawing tickets, or if you're feeling generous, check out the sponsorship options. September 25th, Aid for Women's annual dinner. Hope to see you there. Visit helpaidforwomen.org to join us.
This is Alistair Begg, inviting you to sail with me next September 5th through the 12th, 2026, on the Deeper Faith Norwegian Fjords Cruise. If you've never been to this picturesque part of the world, the sights are magnificent, and the glacier-carved cliffs demonstrate the grandeur of God's creative handiwork. Throughout the journey, I'll be teaching from the Bible. Together we'll learn from the Scriptures, enjoy a week of fellowship and worship, and stop at several ports where we'll stroll through quaint Nordic villages. This is an opportunity to explore scenes you won't soon forget, all while forming new friendships with fellow believers from around the world. Cabins are limited, so call today at 855-565-5519 or visit deeperfaithcruise.com. 855-565-5519 or visit deeperfaithcruise.com. I hope to see you on board.
Book today at 560theanswer.com/deeperfaith.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MetaShare. Maybe you've heard joining MetaShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MetaShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network, so yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Does your garage floor look lousy with stained or cracked concrete, or even worse, bad epoxy or paint? Call Comer & Cross Concrete Floors now. During their end-of-the-year sale at 1-800-NEW-FLOOR right now, you'll get the best price of the year guaranteed, starting with $750 off. At Comer & Cross Garage Floor, they are the gold standard, guaranteed to never chip, crack, or show tire lift like epoxy or bad paint. And they'll make it so easy. They're in and out in one day. They'll fix your cracks, the pits, and they fix them perfectly the first time. They're certified, they're uniformed, they're employees. They'll even take the stuff out of your garage for you. Whether you're in Chicago, Milwaukee, or Indiana, now is the time to call them for the best price of the year, guaranteed, starting with $750 off right now during their end-of-the-year garage sale. Here's the number. It's easy. 1-800-NEW-FLOOR. That's 1-800-NEW-FLOOR, or go to comercross.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, coming up at 6:36. But before we rush headlong into trying to regulate quote-unquote hate speech, Pam Bondi, let's understand the science of censorship. We'll try to advance that understanding at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 66 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Freddie Hammer. Sunny today with a high of 78. There was a deadly shooting in Chicago's Uptown overnight. 17-year-old Khalif Norwood was gunned down near Argyle Street just after midnight. Police say a group of men approached before one opened fire. Norwood was rushed to Illinois Masonic Hospital where he died. No suspects are in custody as detectives investigate. An ICE agent injured in Franklin Park after being dragged by a car has been released from the hospital. The driver, identified as Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, was shot and killed during the encounter. Officials say he tried to flee during an attempted arrest. A full investigation is underway. And Chicago's CTA is installing free Naxalone vending machines at 5 rail stations. The opioid reversal drug will be available anonymously and at no cost, aiming to save lives and reduce overdose deaths across the city. And a strike was avoided in Romeoville, where Valley View teachers reached a tentative deal with District 365U. According to CBS Chicago, the agreement comes amid disputes over pay and school start times. News is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
You know when that big online store has special days with ridiculously low prices?
Yeah.
Why doesn't Hasselus Mattress do that?
We do.
You do? When?
Every day.
Okay, good one. But really, when are the big discounts?
Like I said, every day. You know our showrooms are employee-free.
So I can give your mattresses a try?
With no pushy sales guy.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that allows us to sell Sealy Posturepedic, Beauty Rest, and more for way less.
Give me numbers.
Our 35 beds from the top 5 brands start at $393. Free next day delivery, too.
And you do this every day?
Yeah. Plus, through Monday, get a free box spring with every Sealy Posturepedic, Beauty Rest, and more, or take an equal amount off an adjustable base.
Wow.
So I guess you could say now is a prime time to buy.
I see what you did there.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you or shop online at Hasselist.com.
Virago is fending off viruses and making America healthy again.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. I'm one of the co-founders of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Here are what some Virago users have to say.
I started using Virago a little more than a year ago. I have 3 school-age kids, and they are constantly bringing home whatever bug is going around school, whether it's a cold, a sore throat, whatever it is. Everyone in the house was getting sick. I started taking Virago to help boost my immune system, and it worked. I haven't been sick since starting Virago. I use just a half a dose daily unless I feel like I'm getting something. Then I'll take a full dose for a day or 2, and I'm fine. I also feel great and more on top of my game, like my memory is sharper. I'm not forgetting things. I absolutely recommend Virago.
Boost your immune system with Virago. Order your bottle today. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com.
And use promo code IMMUNE to get 30% off.
That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
We couldn't decide if we needed in-home care for Dad.
Right. Just some help here and there with bathing, organizing his meds, a walk through the neighborhood.
Oh, exactly. But everywhere we looked, we had a 4-hour minimum. It was more care than he needed. And it didn't make sense to spend extra for it.
Then we found Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. No minimum hours. We were shocked.
Now a caregiver stops by once or twice a week for just an hour or 2 to help with the small things that make a big difference.
And Mom loves the visits. It's not just help. It's companionship.
At Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, we understand that not every family needs round-the-clock care. We serve DuPage, Cook, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. We conduct free in-home assessments and we guarantee compatibility. Call Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest today at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care. Only better.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Taking a look at your drive in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center with traffic, a service of Blindster.com on the Edens inbound Lake Cook to Montrose. 16 minutes, a 14-minute ride on the outbound Edens Montrose to Lake Cook, and 15 minutes on the Kennedy inbound Montrose to the Byrne Interchange. A 10-minute ride on the Kennedy outbound from the Byrne Interchange to Montrose. On the inbound Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 22 minutes. Eisenhower outbound from the Old Post Office to Wolf, a 17-minute ride. There's a crash right before Austin Boulevard, adding to your slow go. On the Stevenson inbound from 355 to Lakeshore Drive, you're looking at a 30-minute ride, 23 minutes on the Stevenson outbound Lakeshore Drive to 355, and a 20-minute ride on the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. Kyle started Blindster in 2010 to make quality custom-made blinds affordable to everyone. Traditional window coverings retailers are expensive. Blindster's prices are low and their blinds are guaranteed to fit. Blindster.com. I'm KT. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now here's the latest forecast from QC Kinetics.
Today will be mostly sunny and very warm with a high of 84. Tonight, expect clear skies with a low of 62. Tomorrow, anticipate sun through high clouds, remaining warm with a high of 86. On Friday, it will be cloudy to partly sunny with a high of 80. Saturday, we'll have intervals of clouds and sunshine with a passing shower or 2, remaining warm with a high of 79. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. What should be the response to intemperate, even repulsive speech, expression, like we just heard in our conversation with Jonathan Alpert when I played clips of this YouTuber gamer named Destiny and his essentially calling for violence against conservatives, or at least they should fear violence until Donald Trump says we need to tone it down. refusing to condemn the assassination of Charlie Kirk until Donald Trump says what he wants him to say. Those sorts of things. And worse, Elon Musk said that Destiny should be prosecuted for calling for violence against conservatives. General threats, no. There's all sorts of intemperate rhetoric out there. And so it was unfortunate that the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, said this the other day on a podcast about her posture towards hateful speech.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me respond with this citation. Hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech, there's gross speech, there's evil speech, and all of it is protected by the First Amendment. Keep America free. Those are the words of Charlie Kirk. Pam. Pam later was compelled to clarify her remarks. Hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence is not protected by the First Amendment. It's a crime. That's not hate, just speech that crosses the line into violence is not protected by the First Amendment. Just remove the hate modifier. Speech that crosses the line into violence is not protected by the First Amendment. That is correct. Pam Bondi's first instinct was not correct, and it's frankly a little bit disturbing. And Charlie Kirk's words, as a good student of conservatism, is something, I mean, they're hardly novel. It's something that, you can go back to the great thinkers of yore in Western civilization who all had that understanding. Great Supreme Court justices, from Holmes to Brandeis. I mean, this is not the direction we want to go, which is why we're always railing against these terms of what constitutes, quote unquote, a hate crime, what constitutes, quote unquote, hate speech. There is violence, and then there is expression or nonviolence. We do not want to go down the road to censorship here. That doesn't mean, I hasten to add, that vulgar speech is consequence-free. Yeah, you can lose your job over celebrating the assassination of somebody. And maybe you should, particularly if you're, for example, in a position of educating young people. So it's not consequence-free, but it shouldn't be restrained by the government. Do you see the difference? I hope Pam Bondi does now, and she speaks with a little bit more specificity. That's what we expect from the chief law enforcement officer of the country. Bob in Coloma, Michigan. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Thank you for taking my call. Like I told your screener, I've been listening to the news reports, and I've been listening to a lot of the talk show hosts. And everybody is calling the alleged assassins a roommate, or his lover, or his sweetheart, or whatever. Why don't they come out and tell the truth and say it's his boyfriend?
Because the DC press corps and their regional outlets that you're listening to believe that a boy pretending to be a girl is the same thing as a girl. That's why. And they also want to downplay this whole area of the assassin's life being in relationship with a trans person. It's a love story. It's a radicalization online. It's gaming culture. It's all these things, except what clearly from the evidence seem to be the most important thing in his life, the assassins I'm talking about. Pay no attention to that. Just getting back to the censorship matter. It's a good piece on this. I'm sort of distressed that this needs to be stressed. A good piece from a professor, engineering professor of engineering at Oakland University, Barbara Oakley. Censorship hurts our brains literally. Our brains are built to form habits. The basal ganglia, deep learning circuits that automate whatever we repeat, don't absorb only tennis serves or piano scales. They also wire in patterns of thought. If the only messages we hear are one-sided, the brain's habit circuits carve them into grooves of thought that resist change. Rigidity at the neural level breeds rigidity at the civic level. For example, she cites a study of East Germany by economists, including Harvard's Alberto Alesina, that found that decades of socialist rule left scars on behavior. Citizens became more cautious, less entrepreneurial, and slower to trust. A society that punished initiative and rewarded conformity trained its population to avoid novelty. Thinking about the neuroscience of Chicago right now. I don't know about you. Neuroscience also shows that cognitive flexibility isn't automatic. Like any skill, it must be trained. This helps explain why rigid beliefs can turn dangerous. Dogmatism and extremism go hand in hand with low cognitive flexibility and thinking that resists correction. In other words, once convictions are woven into our sense of self, challenge doesn't loosen them, it locks them in. So reports that suggest that Kirk's accused killer clashed with his conservative family, but it seems that those grooves had formed so that argument and discussion left him unmoved. Online voices that amplified his anger were easy to find. Those spaces reward outrage and punish doubt, driving minds deeper into extremism. People point to social media as the trigger, but the narrowing of perspective often starts much earlier, like in the classrooms. I don't think I need to develop that portion of the argument anymore. In the U.S., schools, the scientific method, once taught as a clear step-by-step framework for testing evidence, has been set aside in favor of looser inquiry or science practice, quote-unquote, approaches. Education researcher Marcus Emden cautions that when schools drop explicit instruction in the method, students lose practice in the disciplined testing of claims, leaving them unprepared when they encounter opposing views. All of this is why free speech matters. And it is an indispensable check on one-side teaching that can begin even from the earliest years of school, when authority figures can easily shape children's habits of thought. Free speech works upstream before grooves harden by giving parents the right to challenge, by assuring children hear more than one voice. So take this science, following the science and data, this neuroscience, the warning from neuroscience, the basal ganglia, working through the prefrontal circuits that normally support flexibility, can turn repetition into habit in our thoughts as well as our movements. If we repeatedly avoid dissent, we become expert at avoidance, sometimes at any cost. When young minds are enclosed in like-minded circles, convictions can harden until pushback strengthens them instead of loosening them. That is why exposure to difference must begin early and run deep. Yeah, what the professor said. And the scientific overlay is a nice kicker. And by the way, this works in practice. Barrington, Rhode Island High School. A few students got together and addressed the school board in Barrington, Rhode Island, about a teacher there who celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination. Boy, I mean, how many reports do we have around the country of that happening? A real tell in terms of the state of K through 12 education. Here's what they had to say to the board about this teacher, Benjamin Fillo is his name, and why he should lose his job.
I'm Jahar. I'm Caleb. And I'm Brandon. And as a people of the youth, we've decided to come up and give our perspective
perspective on the subject, considering it is our teacher and one of the people that will guide our futures. No matter what anyone says to me, I will never stand for violence, especially of a man who was publicly murdered in front of his wife, one of his children, thousands of students, and other bystanders. Charlie was not a racist, he did not hurt anyone sexually, and he did not kill anyone. Therefore, this was an unjustified cause of death that should never be celebrated. So if you ask me, Charlie's children do not deserve to grow up without their father. Charlie's wife did not deserve to lose her husband. Charlie did not deserve to lose his life because of a different opinion. But this teacher deserves to lose his job.
As civilians and people of our great country, we hold ourselves to a higher standard and to support, or worse yet, rejoice in violence. Someone who advocated for an arrested murderer and assassinator of one of the greatest debaters and free speakers of our time should have no place in the classroom, more so around young children.
As a student of Barrington High, I did not feel comfortable or safe with one of our teachers supporting violence. We believe this world needs God because something as cruel as this should never be celebrated. God bless Charlie Kirk and rest in peace, Mr. Kirk.
So the point is that, yeah, that teacher can express the view that he's happy that Charlie Kirk has been assassinated. But there are still consequences to it. That's what living in a free society sounds like. Ralph and Rantoul, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Hey, my basal ganglia got a cramp. Okay, you know what? I absolutely guarantee you that the same professor who spewed that nonsense is really mostly concerned with young children being indoctrinated with leftist ideology. And if you raise a person, you know, she probably wants to rescue all Amish children because the ideology is dangerous. Look,
wait, you're talking about the Oakland University professor I was referencing that wrote that piece?
Yeah, the basal ganglia, you know, like things form. I don't know her ideology. Personal ideology. I'm just saying I think that will be used by the left to continue their campaign of lies about all the DEI and ESG crap that they're trying to push down children's throats.
Well, wait a second. The idea that you should hear countervailing opinions, you should seek them out. You should have.
No, I'm okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm okay with that. No, I'm okay. Let me be clear, Dan. Opposite opinions are great. Seek them out, listen to them. I think that the thing about the neural pathways being formed that you can't change, I'm saying, what about all the stories about people who were raised being told horrible lies and then, like a conversion to Christianity, they go, wait a minute, all this stuff is nonsense. So if the argument holds that the basal ganglia argument would be tested against the null hypothesis, how would one explain a radical departure from a lifetime of thought in an instant with a conversion to a superior ideology?
Yeah, but that's not the argument that's being advanced. You're misstating the claim. The claim is that that patterns of thought can be hardwired, and if they're never bumped up against a countervailing opinion, then they become resistant to change. It's not impossible. So what you're describing as some sort of conversion event or epiphany, well, that would by definition be your preconceived notions bumping up against something, as you said, that's superior in thought, and you migrate towards that.
Well, migrate rapidly. And I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to misstate anything. I'm just simply saying that I agree with the woman that, the professor who said, hey, the basal ganglia, the neural pathways can be imprinted, make people very resistant to change and even, quite rigid in their thought patterns. I agree. There's no doubt about that. What I'm advancing, though, is that this study, her premise, would be, I think, more advanced by the left, saying this is why the children should hear all this garbage at school that most people are trying to say, you know what, cut that out. I mean, it's okay to say to children, all right, there's this viewpoint and there's that viewpoint, but it's not okay to use that sort of argument to push the leftist ideology or to continue to push it with the same fervor that's been advanced over the past, 20 years or so.
Well, but thanks for the call. But I mean, but what's happening in pre-K through post-secondary education is exactly what she's describing. The left doesn't need her argument. The left is just coming down, straight totalitarianism with a fire hose. I mean, you see this. I go back to the I Hate White People Day at New Trier High School, and the people that wanted that were, you want to have Ta-Nehisi Coates, and you want to have Nicole Hannah-Jones and Robin DiAngelo and all of the race hustlers. You want to have their scholarship. You want to expose the kid. Fine. Just also include Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams and Bob Woodson and Shelby Steele and Jason Riley and Roland Fryer. No, we don't want to. Exactly. They don't want to. We'd rather cancel the day than allow New Trier students to hear from black conservative thinkers. So that's her argument. The leftists are going to use this to advance DEI and all of their toxic beliefs. I think we're past post. That's happening. And by the way, the left should advance their viewpoints, and we should address them. That's what that's what a free society is, and much less what should be happening in the mediating institutions that provide the foundation for said society, right? This isn't that complicated. That's not the same thing as saying that, like, advocating for the political assassination of people is not, there are beliefs that are beyond the parameters of intelligent discussion. I mean, you don't have to contemplate every crazed idea under the sun in a K through 12 or a college setting. Of course, that's nonsense. You have to, exercise some judgment in terms of, competing ideas that address things like how society should be ordered. It's pretty easy, and you could pretty quickly move away from anybody who says might makes right. But I mean, that doesn't mean you shouldn't read Thomas Hobbes and factor that into the discussion. It should be as expansive as possible. And when we get into these gradations of speech, something is hateful. It says who? Again, you disgrace yourself by the way that you communicate in a school or a corporate setting. There could be professional consequences. That's not what the First Amendment protects. The First Amendment protects you from being restrained and expressing yourself, even in ugly terms, by the government. Let's not conflate the two issues. Will and Skokie.
Good morning, Dan. A question to think about. Was Charlie Kirk a political activist who also had to be a Christian? Or was he a Christian was he a Christian evangelist who also was informed about politics and allowed his Christian ideology, to use a phrase, to inform his political thought? It's an interesting conflict, political or religious. Do those come together, or which one had precedence? That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, for Charlie, I think it's pretty clear that his Christian faith informed his political views. So they should come together. By the way, that's part of what keeps you grounded. Is there some sort of philosophical basis for your political views on the pressing issues of the day? Gives you that perspective. So you're not just a leaf in the wind. Coming up at 7:07, we'll return our attention to the FBI per Kash Patel's appearance before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Jim Gagliano, retired FBI supervisory special agent, joins us at 7:07 to discuss the investigation into the Kirk assassination, as well as some of what Kash Patel testified to before that Senate committee yesterday. It is now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
A royal welcome. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's at Windsor Castle in Britain, where President Trump is now, with the First Lady standing outside next to King Charles and Queen Camilla, arriving in a horse-drawn carriage. After landing nearby in a helicopter, the president will have lunch with the king and later a state dinner.
President Trump is the first world leader to receive the honor of a second state visit. Typically, those invitations are recommended by the government as a tool for diplomacy. But President Trump says he's been friends with the king and queen for a very long time. Regardless, this second visit shows just how important the UK believes the U.S. relationship is, and that it should use every tool at its disposal to draw President Trump closer.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich in Windsor. Tomorrow, the president will meet with Britain's prime minister and talk trade. It's back to federal court this morning for Ryan Ruth, charged in the second Trump assassination attempt last year. He's acting as his own lawyer in the trial in Florida. Tyler Robinson will make another court appearance in 12 days, charged in Charlie Kirk's murder a week ago.
The alleged assassin showed no emotion during his first court appearance as he learned he could face the death penalty. He was wearing a suicide prevention vest, and the only time we heard him speak was when he confirmed his name. Before that hearing, the Utah County District Attorney shared a lot of new details from the investigation, including a series of text messages from after the shooting where the accused killer, Tyler Robinson, confessed to his roommate who he was in a relationship with.
Fox's Garrett Tenney at the Utah County Jail. FBI Director Kash Patel told senators they're investigating if others were involved. And he clashed with Democrats at the FBI oversight hearing, including Senator Cory Booker.
I follow you on your social media posts that tear this country apart.
To address your falsehoods.
Oh, you can try all you want.
In this country.
There'll be a House hearing for the FBI in 2 hours. America's listening to Fox.
Good morning. It's 66 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Freddie Hammer. Sunny today with a high of 78. There was a smash-and-grab burglary that turned into a police chase in Oak Park early Monday. According to ABC7, around 2:30 a.m., 5 suspects rammed a pawn shop on North Avenue, then fled in a stolen red sedan. That getaway ended in Maywood with a crash, and 3 suspects were arrested. However, 2 remain at large, and police are investigating. Despite fears tied to Chicago's Operation Midway Blitz, the El Grito Festival went on in Pilsen Monday night, celebrating Mexico's Independence Day. According to CBS Chicago, attendance was lower than expected, with some staying home over deportation concerns. Organizers relocated the event 3 times for safety and handed out Know Your Rights flyers. Still, hundreds gathered outside St. Paul Catholic Church to honor tradition through music, food, and pride. No federal agents were seen at the event. A strike was narrowly avoided in Romeoville, where Valley View teachers reached a tentative deal with District 365U after months of negotiations. According to CBS Chicago, the agreement comes amid disputes over pay and school start times. Meanwhile, teachers in District 146, serving Tinley Park, Oak Forest, and Orland Park, could walk out next Monday as talks over pay and retirement benefits remain stalled. Chicago marked a milestone for Pope Leo XIV's 70th birthday with a tribute at his birthplace, Insight Hospital, formerly Mercy Hospital. According to CBS Chicago, a plaque now honors the first American pope, born there 7 decades ago. Hospital staff and community members gathered Monday to celebrate the legacy and mission of serving the vulnerable. And Governor J.B. Pritzker signed an executive order to protect vaccine access in Illinois. It covers COVID-19, flu, RSV, and more, ensuring pharmacies and clinics can administer vaccines despite federal rollbacks. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Catch more money with leading economist Steve Moore.
I'm excited about America. I think things are going really well. I think we've turned a corner here. I think Biden economics is well behind us now. This is a miracle what's going on here. If anything, it's better than I thought it would be. So many good things happening in the economy. Low inflation, low unemployment rate, consumer confidence up, business confidence up. All of the indicators are pointing north right now.
It's more money. Saturday at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with attorney Bert Hochberg from the law firm of Schiller, Ducanto, and Fleck. We're talking about divorce arbitration. This is not really a new, or is it a new, innovative way to go through divorce?
Arbitration has been around for decades. It's completely legit and available to resolve divorce cases. The litigants and their lawyers sign an arbitration agreement. They identify what the issues are, and we set up dates, and we determine what experts and witnesses there may be. Arbitration is a hearing, a trial that is intended to finish a case efficiently with limited appeal with a binding decision, and it's confidential, so it has some great characteristics.
I think it's a unique alternative to divorce. For more information, please visit sdflaw.com and type Bert Hochberg into the search box. That's sdflaw.com or call direct 773-255-6150.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words micro. That's pound 250, micro.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
Why don't we do one of those one-day bathroom remodels?
Well, because I don't want a generic bathroom that looks like it belongs at a campsite.
Fair. I'd love something that fits us. A bigger shower, safety grab bars, better lighting, heated floors.
Let's go with Forever Remodeling. There's no templates. Every design is unique and exactly what we want.
At Forever Remodeling, no two bathrooms are ever the same. Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
Taking a look at your drive in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. With traffic, a service of quick delivery service. A 20-minute ride on the Edens inbound Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound Edens, Montrose to Lake Cook, 15 minutes. 26 minutes on the Kennedy inbound Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, and a 19-minute ride on the Kennedy outbound from the Byrne Interchange to Montrose. A 31-minute travel time on the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office. 25 minutes Eisenhower outbound from the Old Post Office to Wolf. There's a crash before Austin Boulevard on your right shoulder. Stevenson inbound 355 to Lakeshore Drive, 44 minutes, and a 31-minute ride on the Stevenson outbound Lakeshore Drive to 355. This traffic update is quickly delivered by Quick Delivery Service. For reliable same-day delivery, Quick Delivery will customize a logistics plan to pick up your items and move them safely to their destination. Trust their 40 years of experience for peace of mind. Get a quote at quickdelivery.com. I'm KT. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now here's the latest forecast from QC Kinetics.
Today will be mostly sunny and very warm with a high of 84. Tonight, expect clear skies with a low of 62. Tomorrow, anticipate sun through high clouds, remaining warm with a high of 86. On Friday, it will be cloudy to partly sunny with a high of 80. Saturday, we'll have intervals of clouds and sunshine with a passing shower or two, remaining warm with a high of 79. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Yesterday, Kash Patel was before the Senate Judiciary Committee. He's the FBI director, don't you know? And there was some silliness because you have United States senators like Mazie Hirono. And these are the sorts of things that you have to endure when you're the FBI director.
One question I had is, that you are now requiring applicants to be able to do a certain kind of pull-ups, which a lot of women cannot because of physiological differences. Are you requiring these kinds of pull-ups?
We are requiring a physical program at BFTC at Quantico because FBI agents carrying guns in the field have to chase down bad guys and do really hard work. The physical fitness standards of those agents are being appropriately assessed.
So are you requiring these kinds of pull-ups?
We are requiring everybody to pass the 1811 standards at BFTC. If you want to chase down a bad guy and put him in handcuffs, you better be able to do a pull-up.
The reason I ask is that there are concerns about whether or not being able to do these kinds of harsh pull-ups is really required of FBI agents.
Doing one pull-up is not harsh, and there are always medical exemptions to that.
Oh, of course. Is there a difference between a pull-up and a harsh pull-up? Senator, could you describe the difference between the two? Senator, is this just because you couldn't climb the rope in gym class, and this is your vengeance? Oh, man, the silliness of it all. Pull-up gate. Mazie Hirano is uncovered. Okay. Need a little bit of comic relief in these times. On to the more serious matters with serious people. You had this exchange between Kash Patel and Josh Hawley about the state of the Charlie Kirk assassination investigation, which just based on the Discord group that has been discussed alone that the assassin was a part of, should mean that the FBI is tracking down those individuals involved in that group. There's also this other LGBTQIA-oriented group that is under investigation. It's been reported. And the question is about foreknowledge. Foreknowledge that because the assassin said he had planned this for about a week, according to the district attorney there. So any foreknowledge, much less actual material contribution to this assassination. And here was Patel's update.
What we do for an interrogation perspective, we go and reach out to the family and community immediately. And we've conducted those investigations and interrogations with local law enforcement. And we're continuing to do that because those closest to the suspect are going to hopefully know the most about the suspect and his beliefs and his ideology. On top of that, unfortunately, it has been leaked that there was a Discord chat. And for those unfamiliar with it, it's a gaming chat room online that the suspect participated in. So what we're doing, we've already done, is serve legal process, not just on Discord, so that the information we gathered is sustained and held in a evidentiary posture that we could use in prosecution should it be decided to do so. And we're also going to be investigating anyone and everyone involved in that Discord chat.
Okay, very good. I see the public reports that the Discord thread had as many as 20 additional users. It sounds like you're trying to run down all of that to see if that's accurate, who else may have been on that thread, what they may have known. Is that fair to say?
It's a lot more than that, and we're running them all down.
It's a lot more than 20?
Yes, sir.
And you're running all of that to ground?
Every single one.
Yeah, fantastic.
For more on this and to find out how many pull-ups he can do, we're pleased to be joined by Jim Gagliano, retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent and a doctoral candidate in Homeland Security at St. John's, also served as mayor of the village of Cornwall-on-Hudson in New York. Jim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan, if I appear in your show any more times, you're going to have to find me a nice house in your cozy enclave of the neighborhood. I might have to come to the second city.
Yeah, right. So those physical standards, first and foremost here, we got to make sure the FBI is up to snuff. Do we need FBI agents to enroll in the Hexeth RFK Jr. pull-up and push-up program?
Dan, it's a disappointment. When I took the test to become an FBI agent, and that was back in the late 80s, I joined the Bureau in 1991. They had a number of different tests and things that you had to do physically. And obviously there were complaints about women that didn't meet the standard and that filed lawsuits. And the FBI does what most government agencies do. They capitulate, they fold. They'd rather pay a settlement and give you what you want than to fight you in court and have to spend money. I get that. But we had a trigger pull test, and we carried 357s back then, and you had to hold the 357 between a circle and pull the trigger so many times. It was called a trigger pull test, and because typically women's hands are smaller and they weren't able to do that, they did away with that test. This is the same thing. Listening to Kash Patel yesterday up on the Hill, and I sat through 4+ hours of the agonizing testimony up there in the political grandstanding. But it's so shocking. I was hoping that the senator from Hawaii would have explained what a woman was, because all of a sudden now we can identify physiological differences. That's quite the turn, huh?
It was a revelation that there are physiological differences between men and women. I don't even know if Mazie Hirano knows the concession that she made, given her posture on those issues. All right. Well, we've had enough fun at her expense. Let's turn to the important things here. So the investigation into the Kirk assassination and how large the circle is, does it make sense to you what we're hearing from Kash, as well as what's been reported in the public domain about specific groups that may have had some intersection with the assassin, and perhaps in these chat rooms, these like Discord?
Yes, the easy answer to that is yes, it does make sense to me. I've long maintained that even though there was a successful 33-hour investigation and that this young man is going to be brought to justice and he's in custody right now. And Dan, I have to say, I've looked at the evidence that's been released. I certainly don't know all the evidence that the FBI and local law enforcement in Utah have, but it is a crushing case. You have this guy's own words saying that he did it, and you have just a treasure trove of forensic evidence. It is an incredible case when you look at the evidence. Now, having said that, the most important thing is to make sure that there wasn't anybody else conspiring with him. And look, that doesn't necessarily mean providing material support. That's obviously part of why you could be indicted as an accessory. But it's also, did someone inspire or direct him? And again, it's a fuzzy lane there, because let's say he's in a Discord chat room, as he was, and he's there with a bunch of far leftists, and he makes hyperbolic, heat-of-the-moment comments about Charlie Kirk, and somebody claps their hands or says, yeah, you go, boy. Can you indict that person? Can you charge that person? Dan, that's a legal question, and I know it can go both ways. Do I see or sense anybody getting charged for encouragement in that sense? No, but I'm not completely satisfied yet that the investigation is done. I think they're going to look deeply into this to see if anybody pushed this young, impressionable, disaffected, disconnected, disenfranchised, I'll use all the D words there, individual into doing this heinous act on that university campus.
Yeah, I mean, like, to offload legal responsibility to somebody else when you're talking about a 22-year-old man, I think is a pretty high bar. I assume you would agree.
Yes, 100%. I mean, he's responsible for his actions. There's no doubt about that. But I think as we go forward, I do want to hear that it has been thoroughly investigated, which it will be, and that there was nobody else that knew of this beforehand. Now, there's been some speculation about whether or not this final chat after the assassination between Mr. Robinson and his, for lack of a better term, the person he was in an intimate relationship with, was that to help clear this individual of knowledge beforehand. The FBI will sort all that out. They're talking to the right people, and obviously they're going through all the forensic harvesting on all the personal electronic devices and on the internet, and they'll get to the bottom of that. We just don't have those answers yet.
I haven't seen this reported. It was raised by a caller earlier in the show, and that's a good question. The whether or not that the assassin was on any psychiatric drugs. That's something the FBI would want to know, right?
100%.
Prosecutors would want to know for sure.
Sure, and could the defense bring that up? Because remember, there's two pieces of a crime, right? There's actus reus, the act itself, and then there's mens rea, the mental state to put you to commit it, that you know what you're doing. That could certainly be a defense posture if that is true. I don't buy it. And look, it doesn't look like they're screwing around out there. The Utah DA yesterday laid this out. They came in tough. They came in with aggravated murder charges. And for your listeners, Jimmy, what's the difference between just a simple murder charge and what's aggravated murder? Well, he committed the heinous act. He was a political assassin who murdered Charlie Kirk, but he also put in peril 3,000 people when he fired that round over the top of their heads. So it's a tough standard to meet, a tough bar to meet, but he is looking at, life in prison, or they could pursue the death penalty.
They are pursuing it. Yeah, right.
Yes, it'll be tough. Well, there's still negotiations. This is all pre-trial, but it'll be tough because, Dan, in that instance, you got to get two juries to agree. You got to get 12 people to convict and 12 people to then come back and say, yes, he deserves death.
Something else that was discussed at that hearing yesterday with Kash Patel. Chuck Grassley, the Senate Judiciary Committee chairman, brought forward documents, whistleblower documents, that detail the FBI targeting some 90 different conservative organizations, including Turning Point, the organization that Charlie Kirk co-founded, as part of Operation Arctic Frost, which was the predicate for Jack Smith's persecution, if you will, of Donald Trump. Do we need to bring Chris Wray back here for a little bit more explanation of what he knew and what was going on, such that they were casting such a wide net when they weren't targeting Catholics who attend the Latin Mass? They were targeting all these conservative grassroots organizations to try to figure out ways to get to Trump, the Trump administration, Trump himself, Trump allies, and so forth. This really smacks of the sort of lawfare that we've been talking about and decrying for, well, ever since Trump arrived on the scene.
I would argue it goes back further than that, Dan. It goes back to the Obama administration and Lois Lerner and the United States Postal Service and the conservative groups that struggled to get nonprofit status because they were stymied in the process because of their political adherences and their political beliefs. I look at it like this, and I don't want to go in a different direction, but Dan, I know some of these quote-unquote whistleblowers, and whistleblowers have an important role to play, and many of them, probably most of them, deserve to be lauded and deserve to be protected, and that's what Senator Grassley set out to do. However, not all of them are the same. There are some malcontents. There are some poor performers that have jumped onto this, and all of a sudden you're talking about 20 or 30 people now that are quote-unquote whistleblowers, and they're building the cross and they're putting themselves on top of it. I'm careful and I'm circumspect about what I take that comes out from this because a lot of it is politically motivated, not all of it. And to your question, should Director Wray be brought back in front of, the Senate Judiciary Oversight Committee and hearing and be made to speak to this? I think that's fair. I think once you serve in those pivotal positions, those senior level positions, absolutely you should answer to the American people.
Yeah, and then also correspondingly, so what the FBI is alleged to have done, according to these whistleblowers, and what the FBI is alleged to not have done, that they should have done, according to other declassified FBI files that come to us courtesy of Chuck Grassley, which is the business dealings of one big guy and his son, baby boy Hunter, the smartest man he knows, overseas in Ukraine, and whether or not that credible allegations of bribery were fully investigated by the FBI. Chuck Grassley saying, we aren't saying the allegations are true. We want to know what the FBI did to fully investigate their veracity or lack thereof and what they concluded. Let's put this matter to rest one way or the other. I mean, it's sort of 7, 8, 9 years removed, and we still can't figure out a way to put this to bed. I mean, this is what creates such skepticism about the FBI and the federal government and any accountability for either.
It's difficult, especially now, because it'll just be looked at and viewed with a wide swath of the American public on the right and on the left as, well, this is politically motivated. I don't know if Hunter Biden will ever face true justice. I don't know if Joe Biden in his dealings as the vice president and his dealings as the president will ever be fully, brought to justice and adjudicated. And I know you and I have argued about this before. At some point in time, you just got to go, hey, we got to move on, because the argument is going to be we had different priorities, just like the Trump administration's priorities right now are focused on the border and focused on stopping violent crime in this country. The Biden administration, I don't know what they were, because no one knows what they were, had different priorities. And I think that
I have some idea what those priorities were, but that you can't say it straight away. Yeah, it would be an admission of guilt. Yes.
I was trying to be polite.
Yes. James Gagliano, retired FBI supervisory special agent, doctoral candidate in Homeland Security at St. John's. He also served as mayor of Village of Cornwall-on-Hudson in New York. Jim, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Dan, thanks for having me.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. And right now, AM 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty with their Generac. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. Right now, the phrase, "there are no words," has never been more poignant. And yet we have seen a profligacy of words, some beautiful, some awful, and some words we'd like to hear but haven't. Particularly from those who created the diseased environment of parlance justifying violence. I'd like to point to something that's been particularly true of Charlie Kirk in recent years as well, and that's how much he bathed himself in and promulgated the books, language, and life of his Christian faith. Charlie's political convictions were shared by many on the right as he appealed to common sense and natural rights and natural law, but increasingly his most resounding message to young men and women was of living a life dedicated to being a better person, a better man, a better woman, a better human being, with respect for and yieldedness to God. His dream that we could all be better individuals was a dream we could make our communities better places. It's a dream we should all take up. I'm Seth Leibson.
I think it's coming from over here.
No, I think I hear it over there.
Hold on. Here it is.
That's the Perry Sleeper, one of Penny Mustard's most popular sleeper sofas.
Yeah, and I think I know who's sleeping on it. Come on, Ben. Wake up.
Huh? What month is it?
You mean, what time is it?
No, what month? I'm hibernating.
You can't hibernate.
Well, I couldn't until I found the Perry Sleeper. Sure, it's classy and comfy as a sofa, but this pull-out sleeper is unbelievable.
5 extra inches of mattress.
And no painful bar in the middle of my back.
It just might be the perfect sleeper sofa.
I'm going back to sleep. I set an alarm.
For what time?
April.
The Perry Sleeper, American-made with your choice of fabric or leather, and no metal bar digging into your back. Starting at $44.99 at Penny Mustard.
7 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Hey, I'm Brant, and her name is Sherry.
Hello.
She's a friend of mine whom we were just praying for because of a surgery she just went through.
Yes, and I am very happy about something you actually talk about all the time, which is
Medi-Share.
That is right.
Yeah. So what was your experience like with Medi-Share and the healthcare bills?
Honestly, Brant, seamless. And what a blessing that is when you're already nervous about a health issue, which I was.
Yeah.
Members shared my expenses. There were 0 problems. And let me tell you, having people pray with you when you call in with your need, that is just...
It is refreshing.
Yes, that's what it is.
What I keep telling people love Medi-Share, and they love saving tons of money, too. The typical family can save $500 a month.
I am very thankful for Medi-Share. It is so different, and I mean different in a very, very good way.
It is good different. Call now. They're easy to talk to, and you can get a price within 2 minutes. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Every day I speak with people who are worried and are feeling a lot of pressure because of credit card debt. That's why I'm very proud of what we do at Trinity. We just help. We give people the support they need, along with a real plan to become debt-free. Credit card bills are consolidated into a single monthly payment that is much less than what they were paying before. Most of our members end up saving thousands and even may improve their credit scores by as much as 200 points. I know from the bottom of my heart that I'm making a difference in the lives of the people we help. It just makes me really happy.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Julie, and I'm a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
Summer's over. It's time to go birds. Raise a stein and join in song as we celebrate fall for all. Kids from 2 to 92 can romp and play and explore all day. Ride a helicopter, ride a pig, ride a train, ride a plane, and see a pumpkin-eating dinosaur. And Oktoberfest weekend means cold beer at the Pumpkin Pub and the beer bin for the grown-ups. And for the little ones, there's so much to explore. Meet the animals, from our famous Gobert's giraffe to classic farm friends. From the carousel and the pumpkin slide to the giant jumping pillow and the haunted mansion. Chow down on yummy burgers, pizza, sausage, tacos, and more. Gobert's Farm is fun all fall. Don't miss Oktoberfest, September 19th through 21st, with adults only after 8 p.m. on Saturday. Tickets and details at goberts.com. Fall is here. It's time to Gobert's. Gobert's Farm, Pingree Grove, just off I-90. GOEBBERTS.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Tom in the South Loop, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning. I'm out with Turning Point USA in Arlington Heights at our memorial we had set up since last Sunday. The park district has been trying to tear it down. We've had threats. We had people drive by last night and kind of give it a look, and once they saw there were people here, they took off. We're trying to continue to keep this up until Sunday, until after the funeral. We'd certainly like to invite people to come out, pay their respects, drop off flowers, have conversations with other people. As Charlie said, we want to have dialogues and conversations instead of negative and violent action.
Where specifically?
We actually need some help.
Where specifically is the memorial if people want to stop by?
307 North Evergreen Avenue in Arlington Heights. 307 North Evergreen.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Coming up at 7:37, socialism's popularity is on the rise among the ranks of the new Marxist Party. Shouldn't be a surprise. We'll start there with Stephen Moore, 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 67 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Freddie Hammer. Sunny today with a high of 78. A smash-and-grab burglary turned police chase in Oak Park happened early Monday. ABC 7 says 5 suspects rammed a pawn shop on North Avenue, then fled in a stolen red sedan. The chase ended in Maywood with a crash. 3 suspects were arrested and 2 remain at large. A man died after being shot inside a Southside home Monday afternoon. Fox 32 reports the shooting happened about 3:19 p.m. on South Anthony Avenue. He was taken to the University of Chicago Medical Center and later died. No arrests have been made. And Chicago's CTA is installing free Naxalone vending machines at 5 rail stations. The opioid reversal drug will be available anonymously and at no cost, aiming to save lives and reduce overdose deaths across the city. Chicago honored Pope Leo XIV's 70th birthday with a plaque at Insight Hospital, his birthplace. Staff and faith leaders gathered to celebrate the legacy of the first American pope. The hospital, once Mercy Hospital, continues its mission to serve the vulnerable. This news is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Make Quick Delivery Service your personal ground crew. Anytime, anywhere, any place. When you need to move your shipment of freight, Quick Delivery will get it there. Get a quote in advance and eliminate any surprises at quickdelivery.com.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill. From pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
Is your company's cybersecurity ready to handle today's cyber attacks? Some companies never recover due to the fallout. Listen to this. In 2021, a ransomware group called DarkSide gained access to Colonial Pipeline through a compromised password. The impact? 4.4 million paid in ransom. In 2017, Equifax had a massive breach which ended up costing over $700 million in settlements. Large companies from Target, Yahoo, to small businesses, including medical practices, have suffered major losses due to cyber attacks. Many have had to close their doors. Access One is here to protect your business 24/7. Cybersecurity isn't just about IT. It's about protecting your survival and customer trust. If you're concerned about your cybersecurity, get a free baseline cybersecurity assessment from AM560 sponsor Access One. Call 1-800-804-8333 or fill out the contact form at accessoneinc.com. Access One has been protecting Chicago businesses for 3 decades. That's 1-800-804-8333 or accessoneinc.com.
People ask us all the time, when's the best time to replace an old air conditioner? Simple. Before it breaks. Because when it does, you know it'll be the hottest day of the year, and suddenly you're scrambling like hundreds of others to get help during a heat wave. At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we've seen it all. We know there's never a good time to be without AC, especially in Chicagoland, where the humidity can make 80 degrees feel like 100. At Air Right, our experienced technicians don't just work fast, they'll do it right. Browse through our more than 1,500 5-star Google reviews to see what our loyal customers love most about us. If it's been a while since your system was inspected, don't wait for a heat wave before having it checked out. And right now, AM560 listeners receive $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right, doing it right since 1959.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
Taking a look at your drive in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center with traffic, a service of Staples, a 21-minute ride on the inbound Edens Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound Edens Montrose to Lake Cook, 18 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound Montrose to the Burn Interchange, a 29-minute ride, a 20-minute travel time on the Kennedy outbound from the Burn Interchange to Montrose, a 47-minute travel time on the Eisenhower inbound Wolf to the Old Post Office, Stevenson inbound from 355 to Lakeshore Drive, a 50-minute drive time, 30 minutes on the Stevenson outbound Lakeshore Drive to 355. There is a crash on your right shoulder after Cass Avenue. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store and everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $125 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends 11/1. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples. I'm KT. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now here's the latest forecast from QC Kinetics.
Today will be mostly sunny and very warm with a high of 84. Tonight, expect clear skies with a low of 62. Tomorrow, anticipate sun through high clouds, remaining warm with a high of 86. On Friday, the weather will be cloudy to partly sunny with a high of 80. Saturday will bring intervals of clouds and sunshine, a passing shower or two, and warm temperatures with a high of 79. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I'm encouraged by this new polling data coming to us from the animated Harry Enton over at CNN, in the sense that finally the new Marxist Party is embracing their actual philosophy, as opposed to, just a few years ago when you would have new Marxists, the neo-Marxists, suggesting that socialism is not something that they support. Where do you get this idea? We're not Democrats. We're not socialists. We're not Democrat socialists. We're just Democrats. Well, that's all by the boards now. As if Kathy Hochul's genuflection before Zohran Mamdani in New York is testimony to this. The macro data, not just the anecdotal.
Look at this. Net popularity of socialism among Democrats. You go back to 2010, it was plus 7 points. Look how high it is now, up like a rocket, up to plus 36 points. That's a jump of nearly 30 points on the net popularity scale among Democrats in just 15 years. And I was looking at the polling from New York City, and what you see is the clear plurality of New York City Democrats think the idea of having a socialist mayor is a good idea, matching what we see nationally. The bottom line is socialism isn't a dirty word among Democrats at this particular point. It's actually a word that, when attached, Democrats seem to like it.
Yeah, it's not a dirty word. It's a descriptive word. That's their philosophy. And correspondingly, capitalism, not so much.
Look at this trend. It was plus 8 points in 2010 on the positive side of the ledger. Look at where we are in 2025. Down, falling through the floor at minus 13 points. That's a drop of over 20 points in just 15 years. So we see the exact opposite trend that we see at socialism, which is up and away. What we see with capitalism is down, down, down through the floor.
Yeah, and unsurprisingly, as you embrace the expansion of the state, a repressive state, so you embrace violence as the means to achieve political goals. A YouGov survey out, just building on the Rutgers survey from earlier in the year that found nearly half of self-identified leftists could find at least some justification for assassinating Trump and Musk. The data from FIRE about the acceptance of political violence as the means to silence speakers on campus, to prevent people from attending a speech. Not a majority, but trending. YouGov survey. It's okay to be happy about the death of a political figure they oppose. 34% of leftists say yes. Trending. By extension, 7% of conservatives do. Proportionality. 34-7. Factor of 5. Agree violence can be used can be justified to achieve political goals. 42% of liberals, yes. 9% of conservatives. 42% of leftists. I shouldn't say liberals because there's nothing liberal about them, small L. For more on this, please be joined by our friend Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity, again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve, thanks for being with us as always.
Hi, Dan. I vote for socialism. I want everybody to have their equal share, and it's worked so well everywhere, just like at Cuba.
Well, look at any totalitarian. Well, frankly, even look at Western Europe. You don't even have to go full totalitarian, although they're close. Yeah.
Germany is now poorer than Arkansas.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago.
I know. It's unbelievable. Even the poorest states, Alabama is richer than France. God, what is going on in Europe? So it's amazing that you've got this, what's the old saying that if you're not a socialist before you're 19, you have no heart, and if you're still a socialist after 19, you have no brain. And boy, is that relevant to today. 15 and 16, 17-year-olds, they're going to have these utopian visions, but then you're supposed to wake up and you're supposed to face the real world. And it's troubling to me that so many young people have not done that.
Well, I'll tell you what, something else too. You can't look at this without the context of the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the political violence piece of this. And so this is when I see data like that, like Harry Enton described about socialism, that's not just we want higher marginal tax rates. That's all the political violence piece. And it's very interesting, now that the party is completely folded into Mamdani as the next mayor of New York, that party. Of course it should. It's a neo-Marxist party. He's a Marxist. Perfect. It's a perfect fit.
And by the way, it's worked so well in Chicago that why not try it in New York, right?
Right.
Brandon Johnson's been a great mayor. Yeah, fantastic.
But the interesting thing is he won't return the favor and endorse Hochul. That's what's really interesting. So get ready to see a lot of Louis Philippe II's. You know, the financier, one of the financiers of the French Revolution, who ultimately was felled by those people he financed, because don't think they won't come for you, Kathy Hochul.
Well, that's a great point. And I mean, it's not just New York City, but it's also obviously Chicago with Brandon Johnson. And then you've got Minneapolis that's now looking at, putting in a socialist mayor in Seattle.
Well, they already have one, Jacob Fry.
Yeah, all of these cities that, are, quote, progressive are driving out businesses. Now, Microsoft and all these major tech companies are moving out of Seattle because they can't, because of the crime and the taxes and the horrible schools, et cetera, et cetera. It's a tragedy. I love America's cities. I mean, we have great cities. I love Chicago. I love New York. I love Los Angeles. I love San Francisco. And to go to these cities now and see what the wreckage of this kind of socialist philosophy is heartbreaking, actually. And, by the way, if Mamdani is elected mayor, and I think he will probably win, then Wall Street, I'm going to make a prediction to you, Dan. Wall Street will no longer be located in Manhattan. It's already been moving out, but it will move to Dallas, or it'll move to Houston, or it'll move to Tampa or Miami. You're going to run out of rich people, folks, to soak.
So talking a little bit of dollars and cents economics, particularly trade.
Yeah.
What do you hear? We keep hearing these things about a major deal. I thought we had a framework, and now we're maybe, I guess, details on the framework of a deal between the United States and China.
I've been hearing that for 6 months. Yeah. And, we got a big deal right around the corner. I don't have a clue what's in that deal. China needs to trade with the United States, so Trump is playing that card. But the problem is the Chinese are more like the old Soviet Union in the sense that they'll say anything and they'll sign anything. It's just a question of whether they actually abide by the rules. I'm very skeptical of that. But where we are with this deal with China, I don't know, because Trump announced a deal back in March, didn't he?
The framework of a deal, and then Bessent.
Framework of a deal.
Yes, right. Yeah, so you got the terminology. But then Bessent was going to fill in the blanks, and actually too. I know there are other things going on, but I mean, Scott Bessent has been less high profile in recent weeks than in the first 6 months, where he was sort of riding point along with the Commerce Secretary on some of this deal making, and I just wonder if that's an indication things have stalled, or they're just working out some of the particulars to announce those particulars. And if you don't know, I don't know who does.
I really don't know. I mean, they have held those cards close to their vest. And so I'm a little I am very hostile to China. I think China is a very dangerous country. I think they're Germany circa 1937. I think we should be very tough on China. I think Trump is exactly right about that. It's just a question of whether you could actually get them to abide by a deal. We will see. But China has its own problems, by the way. I mean, China has a lot of economic problems themselves, and if they can't sell, to our $20 trillion consumer economy here, they're going to go into a depression. So Trump is playing that, quote, Trump card, I think. But we'll see. I mean, I'm skeptical. It's one thing to get a deal with the UK, which is great, fantastic. I think that Trump is over there now in jolly old England. It's one thing to get the Europeans, signed on the dotted line, but China's another kettle of fish.
On the good news front, I read this in your always informative Unleash Prosperity hotline, the newsletter. New census data on median household income by race puts sort of a damper on some of the accusations of systemic racism in this country.
Yeah. So it's actually a good news and bad news story. So do you want the good news or the bad news first?
Well, I know what the bad news is. Give us the good news.
Well, the good news is incomes are rising. They've been rising pretty steadily for since the Reagan era. The average, there's all this talk about the shrinking middle class and blah blah blah. Well, the middle class is about 40% richer today than it was back in 1980. So been steady gains. Now, do you know, Dan? You probably know this because you read the item. What ethnic group has the highest median family income?
Well, as a category, we have to get into the various ethnicities, but it would be Asian families.
Yeah, and this is an amazing statistic because Asians now, their average median income is $120,000 a year. That's a lot. That's a pretty high income as a median. So Asians now have incomes that are 40% higher than whites. Now think about that, Dan. I mean, how could that possibly be true? Because we're a systemically racist country.
Well, we're white supremacists, too, on top of it. We're not just racist, but we're white supremacists. Yeah.
Exactly. So how could it be that the country of white supremacy has people with brown skin who are making more money than white skin?
We're just not very good at that white supremacy thing, apparently. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, Asians are an incredible success story. And most Asians have only been in the country for 1 or 2 generations. That's the most amazing thing. Then you have the story of whites. Whites are doing fine, steady gains in income, median income. The other good news story is Hispanics. Hispanics are doing really well. The average income of an Hispanic family is now up to, I think, $72,000. That's way, way above what they were making in Mexico or El Salvador or the countries they came from. They are climbing the economic ladder of success. Hispanics are a success story. That's the really good news. The bad news is the one group that is falling further and further behind is Black Americans. And Black Americans actually have lost ground, both in terms of, as a share of the total income, but also just their median income has been falling. And that is a tragedy. That's an American tragedy. And here's the most, now you could say, well, that's because of racism. And look, there is racism in the country. I'm not denying that. But Thomas Sowell told us this 30, 40 years ago, the great economist, and it's true today as when he pointed us out 30 years ago. Immigrants who come to the United States from Africa have higher incomes than blacks that are born here.
Right. Yes.
So that's a problem. I mean, what's going on here? Is it? And now, look, I think there are a bunch of factors here, and we just have to be. Racism. Steve Moore's a racist. No, let's just basically tell the truth about it. When you only have half of black children that are growing up in a household with a father, that's a big problem. That is a big problem.
Half. It's more than that. It's more like 75.
In some cities, it's probably 70%.
75, 80%.
Yeah. Now, then you have the problem of the schools. I mean, the schools are in Chicago and in New York, and the inner city schools are a disgrace. And we spend a lot of money, and we're not getting our money's worth. So that's another thing that has to be fixed. All of these things. And then, I'll tell you another tragic, just looking up these numbers, that the average young black male has a 1 in 4 chance of ending up in jail. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are terrible, terrible, heartbreaking statistics. And just for the leftists to say, racism, it's racism. No, we have to really diagnose what's going on here and figure out what the problem is, because we want a society, as Larry Kudlow would say, a rising tide that lifts all boats. And it's not working right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think in point of fact, we have a pretty good idea of what the problem is. And you just pointed out 2 of the fundamental problems. It's just a question of political will to do something different in these big cities, and frankly, even in these blue states in general, like Illinois, we know so well. I mean, that's what. Who was
the famous senator? I'm blanking. Oh, Moynihan, Pat Moynihan.
Yeah, right.
He wrote a very, very famous essay. This is the 60-year anniversary of his famous essay called "Defining Deviance Downward." Remember that it was very famous, and he said, "We are destroying the black family with welfare." And by the way, Walter Williams used to say that all the time. My good friend Walter Williams used to say, the black family survived slavery. It's survived Jim Crow laws. It survived segregation. The one thing the black family could not survive was the welfare state.
Yeah. That's the truth. Before we let you go, it looks like just on another topic, since this has been so central to our discussion about the macroeconomy. Senate Republicans are going to confirm Stephen Moran for the Federal Reserve Board as early as next week.
Yep.
And so then what happens?
Well, first of all, we are going to get a Fed rate cut, quarter basis point. Moran, I know Moran a little bit. He believes in the idea of a weak dollar. he thinks a weak dollar will be good for America because it'll make our exports cheaper, and therefore we'll sell more abroad. It'll make imports more expensive, and therefore we'll reduce our trade deficit. I don't believe that at all. I believe that we should have a strong, stable dollar. I think that the Fed should be defending the dollar. We need to continue to be the world reserve currency. And this idea that we can solve our problems by just printing more money and cheapening the dollar, I don't agree with that kind of philosophy at all.
Nope, me neither. But we're getting a rate cut this week, you said. Quarter point?
Yeah, probably quarter. And it's fine. I mean, look, Washington and Wall Street obsess way too much about the power of the Fed, like that's the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. He just pushes a button and the economy does this or that. And the truth is the Fed doesn't have all that much control. They control the very, very short-term rates. They don't control mortgage rates. They don't control the 10-year Treasury bill. Mm-hmm. So, here's my line on this, and Dan, if you want to cut something in Washington, don't cut the interest rates. Cut the damn overspending in Washington.
There's an idea, Stephen. Even Joe Manchin conceded that point after voting for so much of that spending for so many years.
Oh, amazing!
How about that?
His confession. He said, "Gee, all Joe Biden ever wanted to do was send checks to people."
Is that right?
He did it.
You don't say, Joe Manchin. Huh? Yeah, how about that? Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Dan. Have a great week. Bye.
You too, and Steve joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature. Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
Just a reminder, we got a call from Tom at the bottom of the hour. We're up against the clock as we are here. But again, the Charlie Kirk Memorial that's in Arlington Heights is at 307 North Evergreen, trying to keep it up from those destructive forces that would try to tear it down, keep it up at least through his funeral on Sunday. 307 North Evergreen in Arlington Heights if you want to stop by. Matthew Schmitz on the Epstein myth at 8:08. It's now 8 o'clock, AM 560 WIND.
He went from a helicopter to a horse-drawn carriage. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's how President Trump arrived at Windsor Castle, greeted by King Charles. He's the first world leader to get a second British state visit.
The King and Queen will host a private luncheon, and then they'll lay a wreath at the tomb of Queen Elizabeth, who President Trump very much admired. Tonight, there's a lavish white tie state dinner in St. George's Hall, where both President Trump and King Charles will each make a speech.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich in Windsor. Tomorrow, the president will talk trade with Britain's prime minister. Friday, the president plans to talk to Chinese leader Xi Jinping, trying to finalize a TikTok deal after the social media app got another extension to avoid a ban in the U.S. unless TikTok cuts ties to its Chinese parent company. Sunday, the president will be in Arizona, along with Vice President Vance,
to speak at Charlie Kirk's memorial service. Kirk was a passionate supporter of the president, helping to mobilize young conservative voters on college campuses. And the vice president even filled in on Kirk's talk radio show earlier this week.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz, the suspected Kirk assassin, made his first court appearance via video, facing an aggravated murder charge that could lead to the death penalty. At a news conference, Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray detailed text messages between Tyler Robinson and his roommate.
Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence.
FBI Director Kash Patel told a Senate hearing they're investigating others Robinson talked to in a chat group.
We're running them all down.
It's a lot more than 20?
Yes, sir.
And you're running all of that to ground?
Every single one.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's Republican Senator Josh Hawley. Patel clashed with some Democrats who accuse him of being a Trump loyalist, damaging the FBI. Patel will testify at a House hearing next hour, and the FBI is searching for a man who drove into a metal gate outside an FBI office in Pittsburgh early this morning and then ran off. The FBI is calling it an act of terror. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It's 70 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Freddie Hammer. Sunny today with a high of 78. 2 children and a woman were found dead in Lake Michigan over the weekend near Southside beaches. According to WLS, the Cook County Medical Examiner identified the victims as 1-year-old Dream J.C. Washington and 6-year-old Wyatt Bryden Patton, both from Madison. Washington was discovered late Saturday morning near 57th Street Beach, while Patton and a 31-year-old woman were recovered near 63rd Street Beach later that afternoon. Police believe the deaths are connected and may have stemmed from a domestic dispute. The woman's identity has not been released and causes of death are still pending. Immigration and Customs Enforcement made arrests in Chicago's Little Village Monday, one day after the Mexican Independence Day parade. According to WLS, witnesses say a Venezuelan man was detained at 24th and Albany. Community members report that agents did not leave information for the family. However, hours later, another man was taken into custody nearby. Local groups are assisting families and urging residents to know their rights. ICE has not made any statements. And Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed an executive order last week to safeguard vaccine access amid federal policy changes. According to CBS Chicago, the statewide vaccine access initiative, led by the Illinois Department of Public Health, aims to ensure residents can receive vaccines for COVID-19, flu, RSV, and more. The order directs pharmacies and clinics to administer vaccines under a standing order and calls for clear public guidance and school-based support. This comes as HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. rolls back CDC recommendations, prompting concern from health officials nationwide. And a strike was narrowly avoided in Romeoville, where Valley View teachers reached a tentative deal with District 365U. According to CBS Chicago, the agreement comes amid disputes over pay and school start times. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report. General Mills shares are up 0.5%. Its earnings came in stronger than forecast, though sales declined. General Mills makes Cheerios, Betty Crocker, Wheaties, and many other food brands. It also makes Blue Buffalo. Its pet food sales improved in the quarter. Major U.S. tech companies are pledging more than $40 billion worth of investment in the UK to boost artificial intelligence there. The Wall Street Journal says the commitment coincides with President Trump's UK visit. Most of that investment will come from Microsoft. Deutsche Bank is predicting gold will rise to an average of $4,000 an ounce next year. This morning, gold has been trading under $3,700. Stock futures are narrowly mixed ahead of the Fed meeting wrapping up today. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Coselda. Invested in you.
Scott Jennings sees a disturbed individual.
There's a picture of a magazine from his weapon that says, "Kill Donald Trump" on it. There are anti-Israel message on some of the magazines he used. There are reports that the shooter may have identified as a transgender person. If this person is who they say, there's severe mental illness at play.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words micro. That's pound 250, micro.
Taking a look at your drive in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center with traffic, a service of Goldilocks. Inbound Edens, 26 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose. A 29-minute ride on the Edens outbound, Montrose to Lake Cook. On the inbound Kennedy, Montrose to the Burn Interchange, it'll take you 30 minutes. And a 27-minute ride on the Kennedy outbound from the Burn Interchange to Montrose. 47-minute travel time on the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office. 31 minutes Eisenhower outbound from the Old Post Office to Wolf. On the Stevenson inbound, you're looking at 61 minutes from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. 33 minutes Stevenson outbound Lakeshore Drive to 355. Goldilocks offering Chicagoland's state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. I'm KT. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. And now here's the latest forecast forecast from QC Kinetics.
Today will be mostly sunny and very warm with a high of 84. Tonight, expect clear skies with a low of 62. Tomorrow, anticipate sun through high clouds, remaining warm with a high of 86. On Friday, it will be cloudy to partly sunny with a high of 80. Saturday, we'll have intervals of clouds and sunshine with a passing shower or two, remaining warm with a high of 79. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. And yesterday, Kash Patel, before the Senate Judiciary Committee, had this entertaining exchange with one Adam Schiff. The topic is almost irrelevant, but it was related to the Epstein files. There was an effort by some of the neo-Marxist senators to make an issue of the Epstein files, that there's some sort of cover-up going on, and so on and so forth. And Adam Schiff, in his inimitable fashion, tried to insinuate some sort of additional conspiracy afoot that where the administration was providing preferential treatment to Ghislaine Maxwell, inappropriately moving her to a minimum security prison. And this is how that went.
Do you think they're stupid?
No. I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're
inmates.
Not in the weeds?
What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reform, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You are a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised that you continue to lie from your perch and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charade. You are a political buffoon at best.
Well, you can take an internet troll.
Take it to the bank that the FBI is protecting this country and the state and citizens of the California. We are bringing historic reform. Point of order. But all you care about is a child sex predator that was prosecuted by a prior administration, and the Obama Justice Department and the Biden Justice Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
you said I'm the most transparent FBI director in history. 33,000 pages of information to you. I challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now.
Well, that was fun. Matthew Schmitz is the founder and editor of Compact Magazine. He has written recently on the topic. The Epstein Myth is the title of his piece over at firstthings.com. Matthew Schmitz, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan, thanks for having me. What an exchange.
Yes, it was testy to say the least, but, there's a lot of scar tissue that has built up between those two individuals. And frankly, even though I wasn't necessarily complimentary of the way that Bondi and Cash and Bongino and the administration handled the Epstein matter initially, he's certainly not wrong about Adam Schiff. I'll give him that. The Epstein myth is what, according to you?
So the Epstein myth is a story that has been told about him that goes beyond the well-established facts of the case. And the well-established facts are that Epstein abused underage girls. What we don't know, and I think this actually surprises a lot of people because we've heard it repeated over and over again, what we don't know is that Epstein ever actually ran a kind of child sex ring, that he blackmailed people, that he worked on behalf of foreign intelligence. There are accusations to that effect, but when you look into them, they're often coming from accusers who aren't credible. And despite all the disclosures we've had, all the investigations into this we've had, nothing has really turned up to support those claims.
Well, I guess there's two things. One is you have Ghislaine Maxwell serving a 20-year sentence for human sex trafficking. So that speaks to an operation, and it sort of logically speaks to an operation that it was bigger than Maxwell and Epstein. Just by the
that's the funny thing.
Well, let me finish though. But by this additional fact, which is you have $170 million in civil settlements that have been paid out to alleged victims.
Yeah. So I'll just address those in turn. First, with Maxwell, what I think isn't well understood is that Maxwell was charged with and convicted of trafficking people to exactly one client, Jeffrey Epstein. So that is the extent of the trafficking operation as it's been legally established through her trial. Then in terms of the payouts, there's not an adversarial process there. It's very much like other kind of systems of payouts you've seen in sex abuse cases, where if you make an accusation that is not kind of patently absurd on its face, you're going to receive a payout. So neither of those really kind of gets us to where we need to go to establish that Epstein was running this sex trafficking ring. And it's kind of funny because I think both the people on the right and the left have kind of assumed that this is the case.
Well, it is. You're right about the conviction, but just because they didn't include additional charges, they didn't feel maybe they could make out a case, or they weren't getting cooperation from targets, and they didn't feel they could make out a case. So I understand your point, but it is to make a great understatement. It is highly unusual to pay out hundreds of settlements totaling $170 million, and if there was no criminal wrongdoing, or that it was that it was all centered around a single individual and there were no other participants. That's just it's sort of, you can understand where people would logically conclude, with all the victims that have come forward and some who've made specific accusations about other people not named Jeffrey Epstein, and we're supposed to believe it was just Jeffrey and Ghislaine.
Yeah, I'm certainly cutting against I think what a lot of people are inclined to believe on this. But one thing I go back to, the original charges brought against Jeffrey Epstein in Florida in the 2000s, they were based on accusations from about 13 different accusers, many of them underage, and they had remarkably similar stories about the way that he abused them. But there was also another remarkable similarity between their stories. Not a single one of those initial accusers ever mentioned the involvement of another person. And that came in later through accusations from people like Virginia Giuffre, very prominent accuser, another one, Sarah Ransom. And both these people have, major credibility problems, history of making false accusations. And, Giuffre, one person she brought accusations against was Alan Dershowitz, and she later said that she may have made a mistake there. So it's one thing that I kind of, when I talk about the difference between, an Epstein myth and Epstein facts, one thing that I like to look at is sort of, what were people saying at the beginning, kind of before the media perceptions of the case took off and stories started getting told to everyone? Kind of said, well, I assume this is true, so I'm going to, or everyone else is saying this, so I'm going to get in on it too. If you're an accuser. So that's one thing that I mentioned in that article for First Things.
So is that what So then is your view that the reason that Pam Bondi and the law enforcement hierarchy and the federal government doesn't come forward and say, look, this was Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and that's it. That's all we can prove in a court of law. And this is the reason why why so many people are unsatisfied about this, why we're unsatisfied about this. But in terms of what we actually have, and the standard of evidence for a criminal proceeding, we just can't meet it. And that's where it's at. And here are all the documents with the appropriate redactions. This is what we got. Why don't they come forward and just say that?
One reason is that I think that various figures who are now in the administration previously believed that there was more to the case, as a lot of Americans do.
Yeah.
They kind of said that. They said, look, there's something dark, there's something bad going on here, and it's pretty wide ranging. And we're going to tell you the whole story. But now that I think that they have kind of the whole story, they have the documents, they're seeing that there's not as much there as a lot of people believed in it, and not as much as they believed and said. So I think when you kind of overpromise, maybe not with any bad intentions, but because you believe there's more there, it causes a lot of agita when you underdeliver.
Yeah, perhaps. Although, I mean, there's this other consequence, which is what we're dealing with now, and perhaps it would, if what you're supposing is actually the case. I mean, it seems to me that the sensible thing would be to say, look, this is what we thought. We got in here, we got our hands in everything, and this is what we understand to be true. And we were wrong. I didn't have everything, and I overstated what I thought was there. And now that I see what's there, I have informed, my opinion has changed based on the information available. I think people could understand that.
You have maybe more faith in the American people than or kind of faith in a way that I don't know if it's
politicians
totally well placed, because
people. Yeah.
And also the truth is, I mean, as you know, Dan, and as your listeners know, so many things are said by government officials that don't really hold water, right? That it's, if someone comes and says, okay, there's nothing to see here, everybody move along, you don't necessarily trust that, right? So I think it is a bit of a catch-22. My own view is that this has turned out to be kind of a nothing burger. I hate to use that term. It's not really appropriate, because there were real crimes here for which Epstein rightly served time, though I think he got a much lighter sentence than he should have received. Right. But in terms of the kind of broader idea of a far-reaching conspiracy, kind of like, who are all the other people involved? Who are the names on the list? I think the real problem here is that there's no one really to kind of come out with and reveal on that.
Well, yeah.
And so the administration just can't do much.
Yeah, although, I mean, I got to say, again, this is just sort of advice and counsel being offered into the abyss, but I mean, like, the way to improve the belief in the federal government, to enhance your credibility, is not to continue persisting with a false story. It's to say, look, I'm the guy who's going to come forward and say what I thought wasn't the case, and I was wrong, and here's what it is. And I mean, that's something you never hear, because there's no politician who's ever wrong. And if you had somebody actually be able to substantiate, here's what I said. I know everybody remembers I said this, and now we got our hands in everything, and this is what it is, and you can see it yourself and probably come to the same conclusion I will, but come to whatever conclusion you want. I think that would enhance that person or that administration's credibility. But maybe, as you said, I'm, just a silly heart.
You're absolutely right. It would enhance the administration's credibility, and that it would be welcome. It would be welcome. Certainly from me.
One other thing that I wanted to get to as part of this myth, though, that you covered in some detail in your piece at First Things, is the idea that Epstein was a Mossad agent, that the specter of Israel looms over this whole Epstein-Maxwell operation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a suspicion a lot of people have about Epstein, and again, it's one that really lacks support. I'll just kind of mention one issue here that I think helps illustrate that. I mean, part of the idea is that Epstein, he was blackmailing people on behalf of Israel, on behalf of Mossad, and not just Virginia Giuffre, but others have said that one of the people that was involved in the sex ring was blackmailed by Epstein was Alan Dershowitz. Dershowitz, kind of a well-known figure, but among other things, a very strong advocate for Israel his whole life. So, just one question: why would Israel need to blackmail a guy who's spent his whole life defending them? It's not really clear why that would make any sense. But I do think there's something kind of going on with our politics here that's worth thinking about. People are very unhappy with American foreign policy in certain ways, with the broader way the country is being run, and they maybe feel frustration. They say, we keep voting for politicians, but it doesn't feel like anything changes. So what's going on here? And maybe they think, well, if we aren't running the country, someone else is. Maybe it's the Jews. Maybe it's Israel. It's kind of it's an explanation that people reach for. But I don't think it's one that's borne out by the facts, and I think it's one that risks diminishing our belief in our political system and therefore our capacity to affect positive change.
Matthew Schmitz is the founder and editor of Compact Magazine. The piece, The Epstein Myth, you can get at firstthings.com as well. Matthew Schmitz, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Dan, thanks for having me.
And Matthew, join us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Tom contacted us for a HELOC and financial planner recommendation. After I spoke with Tom, he submitted this 5-star Google review. Reached out to David for a HELOC and financial advisor referral. He put me in touch with KCTCU for a HELOC and fiduciary advisor within 24 hours. David helped me refinance several years ago and provided great service then as well, and will recommend his services to friends and family that need a loan in the future. Thank you, David. No, thank you, Tom. If you'd like this type of 5-star service, call Team Hochberg now at 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or visit our website 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, MLS 112-4061.
Making the switch to a new IT services and support company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs every working day, well, then meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts and proud new sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer. These are the guys you want to talk to. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for more than 30 years from their headquarters in the West Loop. They are local and in tune with Chicago businesses. Whether it's voice over IP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you and your business. They serve thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore. Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups, manufacturers, and businesses in a wide range of professional sectors. They will make the switch for you easier than you think, so call them today to discuss your business needs and tell them I sent you when you do. That's 1-800-804-8333. Again, Access One's phone number is 1-800-804-8333, or you can visit them online at accessoneinc.com. That's Access One, spelled out O-N-E, accessoneinc.com. Access One, tech made personal locally.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews in Family Legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. And speaking of Israel, Candace Owens made an accusation that has been responded to. And people want to say, as I got challenged yesterday, you talked about Israel, what Candace Owens is saying, what Tucker Carlson is saying. Oh, I've talked about it. I'll talk about it some more, too. Here's the accusation Candace Owens made in the direction of Bill Ackman.
In the Hamptons, and he had more than one event, but he had essentially what was staged, an intervention was staged by Bill Ackman, because Charlie's rational thoughts about Israel were a no-no. This is not the route that you should be going on. And Charlie was surrounded by his friends, his quote unquote friends. Bill Ackman was very upset, and threats were made. That is what I am told, and I will tell you that I am very happy for Bill Ackman to dispute this narrative. In fact, he was asked to dispute this narrative. Max Blumenthal went out to him today, and Bill Ackman came back and said, I have receipts I can show you. And he did not provide the receipts. This is not how it went down. I know it went down this way. I'm waiting for one of them to go on record and to say that it didn't go down this way. It was at this time that Bibi Netanyahu was called and Charlie was invited to Israel. This was an under duress situation, I would say, because I've been in these.
And she goes on for another 5 minutes on it. Well, Bill Ackman has responded. This afternoon, Candace Owens slandered me by accusing me of staging an intervention with Charlie Kirk in which threats were made with respect to his supposed evolving stance on Israel and an event I hosted in the Hamptons. Candace intimated I blackmailed Charlie. On the show, Candace said she would be very happy for me to dispute this narrative. While it pains me to drive more traffic to her program, I'm responding here to clear my name. It saddens me that we live in a society where social media influencers seek to monetize the tragic death of Charlie Kirk. For the record, at no time have I ever threatened Charlie Kirk, Turning Point, or anyone associated with him. I've never blackmailed anyone, let alone Charlie Kirk. I've never offered Charlie or Turning Point any money in an attempt to influence Charlie's position or opinion on anything. In fact, my interactions with Charlie Kirk have been extremely cordial, albeit limited, regretfully so, as I was very impressed by him and his work, and I will sadly never see him again. And then he went on to provide details of a Zoom call they had because they were unable to coordinate their schedules to actually meet in person. Oh, and it's not just a he said, she said. Charlie Kirk's executive producer, Andrew Colvett. I've been asked about the Bill Ackman event more than a few times now, so I've asked our staff who are traveling with Charlie to find out what's true and what's not. His team was with him 100% of the time when he wasn't in his hotel room. Here's what they told me. Bill never yelled at Charlie, never pressed him on Bibi, never gave him a list of Charlie's offenses against Israel. There was concern raised about having Tucker at an event, and Charlie's reply was, honestly, people telling me not to have Tucker makes me want to have Tucker, and I'm going to lock him in for AmFest too. Charlie personally told me he had a very cordial relationship with Bill, and the event was productive. Those are the facts. Okay, so come to your own conclusions based on those competing accounts. Coming up at 8:38, we'll turn our attention to Charles Cornish Dale, who operates under the account Raw Egg Nationalist. I like it. But it's a relevant topic that he has opined on recently. Antidepressants are psychiatric drugs making Americans psychotic. Charles Cornish Dale at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Freddie Hammer. Sunny today with a high of 78. There was a deadly shooting in Chicago's Uptown overnight. 17-year-old Khalif Norwood was gunned down near Argyle Street just after midnight. Police say a group of men approached before one opened fire. Norwood was rushed to Illinois Masonic Hospital, where he later died. No suspects are in custody at this time as detectives investigate. An ICE agent injured in Franklin Park after being dragged by a car has been released from the hospital. The driver, identified as Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, was shot and killed during the encounter. Officials say he tried to flee during an attempted arrest. A full investigation is underway. And Chicago's CTA is installing free Naxalone vending machines at 5 rail stations. The opioid reversal drug will be available anonymously and at no cost, aiming to save lives and reduce overdose deaths across the city. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt isn't sure the Democrats can come back to the center.
The Democrats are dancing on the cliff of the left that they may fall off of. Can they possibly recover? Can they get back to anything approaching the 40-yard line? Their own 40. I don't know. A few people said they already are falling. They're in free fall.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. And right now, AM 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty with their Generac. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
They took everything. Our equipment, our supplies, it's all gone.
It's devastating. Every order is going to be delayed for months, and our customers are going to find someone else.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. We're already getting calls from clients checking on their orders.
Who knows how long it will take to get back on our feet? What were we thinking not upgrading our security?
Don't let a break-in devastate your business. Protect yourself with Goldilocks. They'll create a customized security solution for you. From commercial doors with keyless entry to 24/7 alarm monitoring, they have you covered. Learn more at GoldilocksInc.com and have a security technician conduct an on-site assessment of your business. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call Goldilocks now. 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicagoland's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
Whether you are old or young, no one likes to lose money. The market is at an all-time high. How much risk does your portfolio really have in it? Are you worried that you could lose your hard-earned money? Call TJ Stearns in Arlington Heights at 800-640-2256 for your free risk report. Call right now and we will include a full analysis of your portfolio. Don't wait until it's too late. Call TJ Stearns, a local and longtime sponsor on AM 560. Call 800-640-2256. Call now and tell him AM 560 sent you.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Taking a look at your drive in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center with traffic, a service of Blindster.com. 19 minutes inbound Edens, Lake Cook to Montrose, and a 37-minute ride on the Edens outbound Montrose to Lake Cook. On the Kennedy inbound between Montrose and the Byrne Interchange, it'll take you 52 minutes. 18 minutes on the Kennedy outbound from the Byrne Interchange to Montrose. Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, you're looking at 57 minutes. A 35-minute ride on the Eisenhower outbound from the Old Post Office to Wolf. And on the Stevenson inbound from 355 to Lakeshore Drive, a 61-minute ride. 33 minutes Stevenson outbound Lakeshore Drive to 355, and a 38-minute ride on the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. Looking for affordable blinds, shades, or shutters for your home? Don't hire an expensive pro. Check out Blindster.com, where they offer custom-made window coverings at guaranteed low prices with a team of pros ready to help you every step of the way. Blindster.com. I'm KT. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now here's the latest forecast from QC Kinetics.
Today will be mostly sunny and very warm with a high of 84. Tonight, expect clear skies with a low of 62. Tomorrow, anticipate sun through high clouds, remaining warm with a high of 86. On Friday, the weather will be cloudy to partly sunny with a high of 80. Saturday will bring intervals of clouds and sunshine, a passing shower or two, and warm temperatures with a high of 79. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We don't know, at least I have not seen any reporting on this, whether or not Charlie Kirk's assassin was on any psychiatric drugs. But that's a question that should be answered. I suspect it will be. Certainly prosecutors will want to know that. And if he was, that might be something that the defense would raise as some sort of mitigating factor. So we'll find out. But the issue of the therapeutic state, as it were, something, as we've talked a lot about a lot on this show, talking about what we were talking about before COVID, this was a big deal during COVID. The number of Americans on SSRIs, antidepressants, and the documentaries that were devoted to this. And the idea of what we know or don't know about applying pre-adolescents with Ritalin and Adderall. What the DEA was seeming to indicate about some of those drugs when they were regulating the amount that could be produced by various pharma companies. I know this from people in the industry. I talked about it. This is probably a couple years removed now, but that there's you have to work as a pharma company. You have to work with the DEA and get clearances and so forth. And there were pharma companies that were asking, we want to produce X number of these SSRI, our brand of SSRIs, and the DEA was coming back and saying, well, you can produce that number, minus 20%, 40%, 50%. So what is the DEA thinking about the impact of these drugs? Is this, essentially a Oxycontin 2.0? Good piece over at The Spectator on this topic. Are antidepressants making Americans more violent? And thinking about not just the case of Charlie Kirk's assassination, but the incidents of mass violence events and the horrific crimes committed by young people who seem to be maladjusted, and not just chemically. For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by Charles Cornish Dale. He runs the X and Substack account Raw Egg Nationalist, which is provocative. I like it. Charles Cornish Dale, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, I guess first of all, there was a study done by University College London just a couple of years ago that this whole the whole basis for the SSRI industry may be flawed. That the idea that that depression is primarily a chemical imbalance of serotonin, and the researchers that did sort of a meta-analysis of the research on the time, this is back, as I said, a couple of years ago, basically concluded that the evidence doesn't support that claim, the serotonin theory of depression.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is something actually that people don't know, but they should know. So, the whole basis for this relatively new class of antidepressant drugs, they've been around for sort of 25, 30, 35 years, is that they prevent the reuptake of serotonin by the brain. They address an imbalance of serotonin levels in the brain and cure depression. Now, when they were licensed at the time in the late 80s, I think the first one was licensed in 86 or 87 for use in the US, that actual mechanism of action hadn't been proven. It was speculative. It was based on a certain amount of evidence, but the drugs were licensed because apparently they had clinically significant effects to improve depression. 30 years later, we still haven't got any significant evidence that actually this serotonin imbalance model of depression is real. So, these drugs have been around for 35 years. The evidence that they actually work is pretty thin. There's all sorts of evidence that, interventions, simple interventions like changing diet, and especially doing things like getting exercise, getting out, getting active, can have a far more significant effect to improve the symptoms of depression than these drugs. So there's a lot of questions really that should be asked about these drugs, and that have actually been raised about these drugs for a long time. So in this Spectator article, I talk about the very well documented case of Eric Harris, one of the two Columbine killers.
Yeah.
He was on the extremely powerful early SSRI Luvox, and there were questions at the time about whether being on Luvox had influenced his, murderous ideation and his actions at Columbine, the murder of his, schoolmates with Dylan Klebold. But we never got any firm answers about that. There wasn't a sort of toxicology panel about it. And so questions have remained since then, and they've only really grown. There are studies that link SSRI use to violent behavior, and I cite them in this Spectator World article, population level studies that show a clear correlation between SSRI use and violence. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is now Secretary for Health and Human Services, has talked about this at length, actually, and he's got a lot of flack for talking about it, for saying, we didn't have school shootings and these awful, mass casualty events where teenagers go crazy before we introduced these powerful new SSRIs. And maybe what we ought to do is we ought to look at the link. We ought to do an actual investigation. Now, that seems pretty sensible, I must say.
Well, right. But I mean, but the other point here is in your own piece, you write between 2015 and 2018, 13.2% of American adults reported taking antidepressants in the previous 30 days. Almost a quarter of all American women age 60 and over take them. We're talking about tens of millions of people on antidepressants in the U.S. alone. Right. And a very, 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 very small percentage of them commit violent acts. So it's, it doesn't scream causal link. And it seems to me that we have this sort of two competing challenges. One is to determine if in a particular instance of a violent crime, was there a psychotic break? And then secondarily, what was the proximate cause of said psychotic break, if you can discern one? I mean, and the problem is that, all of these factors, incel culture, gaming culture, gender dysphoria, psychiatric drugs. The problem is you have those at play in one or more of these instances, but you have so many people that are similarly situated that don't commit violent crimes. And so, how do you zero in on it?
Yeah, it's complicated. I don't think it's easy, and I do think that in all of these cases we're dealing with multiple factors. Absolutely. But I think nevertheless you can get a feeling for whether these drugs are contributing factors. Sure. I don't think that just going on SSRIs is going to make you necessarily violent. In fact, it's probably just as likely to make you entirely apathetic, to make you lose your libido and your will actually to do anything substantial. I mean, I've seen this with people I know, but nevertheless, nevertheless, I think that it is something that needs to be investigated. And so Tennessee, this is something that I also talk about in the article. Tennessee have now mandated a specific toxicology panel for mass killers. That it's mandated now to test for psychotropic drugs, including SSRIs, because then we can at least have an idea. And I do think that actually maybe on a federal level, if it's possible, it would be a good idea to mandate that, look, all mass killers should have a standardized toxicology panel carried out on their corpses, assuming they die. And you could do it to them, you could do it to if they're captured and they're living subjects as well, just to see, what drugs are these people on? Can we find some kind of correlation? And it's been interesting, even with this case in Tennessee, with this new law, that there's been a lot of pushback, and you've had some quite strange objections, actually, including, you've had Democrat state politicians saying, well, this is an invasion of privacy. It's an invasion of privacy to find out whether, a mass killer was on SSRIs or other, sort of mind-bending drugs, which I mean, to me, doesn't make any sense. And maybe perhaps we ought to look into the kind of contributions perhaps they might be receiving or not. I mean, because it certainly does happen, that politicians are heavily influenced by contributions from big pharma companies.
Yeah, RFK Jr. made that point the other week, didn't he?
Yes, he did, absolutely. And he's right. I mean, he perhaps more than anybody else, I mean, he's the right man for the job. He understands all the vested interests that go into maintaining Americans in this state of unprecedented ill health and dependency on big pharma, to be able to function on a daily basis. I mean, it's a huge problem. Ultimately, it's not just about SSRIs. It's about all the different kinds of drugs that Americans are hooked on, statins, everything else, anti-anxiety medication, all of this kind of stuff. So it's a huge thorny problem, and we're talking about some of the biggest vested interests in American life, billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars, which is why it's so difficult to get anywhere near close to the bottom of the issue.
Well, the other thing, too, is sort of mentioned at the outset, the idea of, we have now probably, unfortunately, a lot of young people that have been on these psychiatric drugs since they were preteens. And since it doesn't, I mean, despite the fact that this is the prescribing these drugs has gotten FDA clearance, it would be perhaps useful to do longitudinal studies to track the development of these kids who were on anti-anxiety drugs and the like, and to see if what we thought we were getting in terms of the benefits are something that we have actually received in terms of the benefits for the patients that have been on them. It just seems to me that going back and looking now that we have the real world information would be helpful to one way or the other, to either support the claim that these have some productive elements or to really call into question what we're doing in terms of our approach to children and their mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no question, and RFK Jr. talks about this and has talked about this for decades, that the kind of testing that's done before drugs are licensed for use and given to millions of people, including children and teenagers, is absolutely insufficient. We have this short-term attitude towards safety and towards regulation. And what's even worse is that we actually allow the companies that are producing these drugs to do the safety testing themselves and to present their own results. It's a clear conflict of interest. I mean, the FDA has a revolving door culture with the industry. We saw this during the pandemic. We saw that regulators who helped to approve the COVID-19 vaccines actually then went on to work for the companies. They left the FDA and they went to work for Moderna or for Johnson & Johnson. So, yeah, I mean, there's every reason that RFK Jr. should lead a revolution in the way that drugs are tested in the monitoring of the safety of drugs, and he's talked about, which is good, he's talked about changing the vaccine, the way that vaccines are monitored, the way that adverse effects are reported and recorded and taken into consideration. This is all for the good. I mean, it really is, like I said, I think it's a systemic problem. But the problem is, again, billions of dollars, vested interests, politicians in these big pharma corporations' pockets, and so nothing ever changes. And RFK Jr. is finding it hard now to make real changes. We've already seen a certain amount of dilution, of watering down of the Maha agenda, because he's got big ag on his case. He's got big pharma on his case as well. You know, we've seen a climb down on pesticide regulation, for example, where now we're being told actually the US isn't going to get a system of pesticide regulation that's much more like the European system. So it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle, and these companies resist the sort of long-term, longitudinal studies, population studies, because they know. I think they know. You know, actually, yeah, we license this drug or these drugs on the basis of short-term studies with absolutely no understanding whatsoever of the long-term effects would be. And we have to be careful with children. Children's bodies, and especially their brains, are developing the whole time. And if you interfere and affect brain chemistry in a fundamental way by, say, blocking the reuptake of serotonin with an SSRI, then you should expect there to be developmental changes. I mean, it stands to reason just on paper, and you know, from what we've seen now, we have good reason to believe that actually, yes, it is the case. You know, these drugs, even things like hormonal contraception, you know, there have been studies recently that have shown actually hormonal contraception affects the structure of a woman's brain. There was a study that was published fairly recently that I wrote about on my Substack that shows that hormonal contraception thins a particular region of the ventromedial prefrontal cortex in a woman's brain. It actually makes the volume of the brain smaller. It shrinks the brain. And nobody knew about this until 70 years after people started using hormonal contraception on a large scale. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Charles Cornish Dale runs the X and Substack account Raw Egg Nationalist. Check out his columns, Are Depressants Making Americans Violent? That's over at The Spectator, and Calm Before the Storm, which is at his Substack, rawegnationalist.substack.com. Charles Cornish Dale, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $257. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
Get pumped up, Chicago. Fall flavors have arrived at Big B Coffee. Stop by our brand new location at Lake and Wacker and grab your pick of the patch. Sip on a white pumpkin latte, a sweet foam pumpkin cold brew, or the fan favorite Chumpkin. And don't forget a fresh baked pumpkin muffin to top it off. Cozy, sweet, and full of fall. Only at Big B Coffee, 309 West Lake Street, right in the heart of downtown Chicago. Big B Coffee, brewing pumpkin perfection this season.
The Dinesh D'Souza Podcast.
This is the important thing to recognize about Trump is he's a very transactional guy. Trump will impose a penalty, and if you come to him and say, well, let's make a deal. This is the actual opposite of socialism. This is called cutting a deal to make something work. And I think that's all that goes through Trump's mind.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Does your garage floor look lousy with stained or cracked concrete, or even worse, bad epoxy or paint? Call Comer and Cross Concrete Floors now. During their end-of-the-year sale at 1-800-NEW-FLOOR right now, you'll get the best price of the year guaranteed, starting with $750 off. At Comer and Cross Garage Floor, they are the gold standard, guaranteed to never chip, crack, or show tire lift like epoxy or bad paint. And they'll make it so easy, they're in and out in one day. They'll fix your cracks, the pits, and they fix them perfectly the first time. They're certified, they're uniformed, they're employees. They'll even take the stuff out of your garage for you, whether you're in Chicago, Milwaukee, or Indiana. Now is the time to call them for the best price of the year, guaranteed, starting with $750 off right now during their end-of-the-year garage sale. Here's the number. It's easy. 1-800-NEW-FLOOR. That's 1-800-NEW-FLOOR, or go to COMERcross.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
This is fun in terms of expropriating identity, essentially, right? Something the left is always complaining about. Jihad Abdallah is scheduled to play the Swedish king Gustav III in a Netflix drama that takes place in 18th century Stockholm. Jihad Abdallah. It's sort of the reverse of an old joke that Paul Mooney, who was a funny comedian, used to be on the Chappelle Show quite a bit, told. So let me understand this. Tom Cruise is the last samurai. Brad Pitt is the Mexican. I got an idea for Hollywood. How about the last black person on earth starring Tom Hanks? This has sort of been reversed. Anyway, Paul Mooney had it. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. It is now 9 o'clock, AM 560 WIND, Chicago.
Will the FBI director clash with Democrats again? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Kash Patel's about to testify at a House FBI oversight hearing the morning after things got heated at the Senate.
You can't lecture me.
You can tell me my time's over.
You may be the charge of the FBI,
not going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you.
That was Senator Cory Booker. Patel also got into it with Adam Schiff.
We have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate.
And meanwhile, the FBI is searching for a man named Donald Henson after what it is calling an act of terror.
And they believe that he's a